Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Naga Munchetty.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Hello and welcome to day 5 of the Olympic Games, where Great Britain's about to go for diving gold. So we've already had our first medal of the morning in the women's triathlon. A bronze for Beth Potter, whilst after a 24-hour delay, the men's race has just got underway. Maz Faruqi.
And what can Alex Yee, who won the test event last year, held through the streets of Paris, do in this final? These triathletes have just been fighting against the current of the Seine right now. They've just completed their first of 2 laps across this river before the run up to 32 steps to transition to the bike.
The first rowing medals will be handed out this morning with high hopes for Team GB. Chris Jones.
11.26, the women at 11.38. Both will have designs on the podium, maybe even gold. Can they deliver when the pressure and the stakes are at the highest?
And after the first gold in the pool last night, GB's swimmers are on the hunt for more medals today. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Yes, after that glorious golden finish to last night's action for GB in the pool, back to qualification heats this morning. Ollie Morgan and Luke Greenbank in the men's 200 metres backstroke, Laura Stevens and Kiana McInnes in the women's 200 metres butterfly.
On dry land, GB's women's hockey team is currently in action against South Africa, which is being watched by Sarah Orchard.
Huge pressure on Great Britain's women to perform in this match. They haven't won yet so far at the Games after South Africa went ahead in the first quarter. Great Britain, they have just equalised at 1-1, a goal for Amy Costello of Surbiton Hockey Club, 10 minutes to half-time.
Fantastic. We will bring you every Team GB medal live here on 5 Live. You can also follow events on the BBC Sport website and app, or watch on BBC One and the iPlayer.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Naga Munchetty.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Let's go to the triathlon. Of course, we've seen the women's race already completed. The men are underway. Maz Faruqi's there. Hi, Maz.
Hello, Naga. Yeah, the men have just started their second of 2 laps of this River Seine. And as we saw with the women's final earlier, this swim is absolutely brutal for these triathletes. The first segment of the lap, they are with the current, so they swim down the middle of the river. That's where the current is strongest and then pulling them along. But then when they turn around the buoy and come back, they're fighting against the current. And that is when they're using up so much energy, and it's really, really tough. We heard Beth Potter say, particularly coming back that second section after her race, when you go actually underneath the bridge, because it's so dark as well, they can't really see where they're going. We are seeing a few of these triathletes looking a bit disorientated, but they have completed their first lap. They come back then onto the pontoon, who've dived back in for the second smaller lap. And Matthew Hauser of Australia is the early leader. Alex Yee, Great Britain's big medal hope in this race, coming onto the pontoon in 10th, Alison Kirbishley. But the big shock so far is that Hayden Wilde of New Zealand, who we expect to be a big medal rival for Alex Yee in this race, is way down in the early stages.
Yeah, I mean, the swim is his weakest of the 3, so he's never normally right up there, but he will want to be in touch. And when I say in touch, within about 30 seconds. He's well down. He's about 42 seconds down off Matt Hauser, who's actually now just given up the lead, it looks like, to the Italian. So he's starting to struggle a little bit with the French guys right on his feet. But Alex Yee, really solid swim for him. Up there in 10th, as you said. Looking back to the test event last year, it was a group of 5 that got out, but very quickly they were sucked up by that chasing bike group, and very soon there was 50 of them in that bike group. As it stands at the moment, it looks to be the same, but Hayden Wilde will really, he won't want to have to do the work on the bike to get into that lead group. So it is all key, but as we saw with the women, this brutal swim really does take it out of them.
How big a factor will it be for this men that obviously, as we'll remind our listeners, this race was due to take place yesterday morning, so they woke up yesterday morning expecting perhaps to take on fuel, take on food 3 hours before their race, find out it's been cancelled, postponed. Huge speculation overnight about whether or not the water will be clean enough for them to do this swim today. that's going to be a factor, the uncertainty around whether or not this final would take place and whether or not it would take place in this format.
Without a doubt, you want to be versatile as a triathlete, and I think, many of these triathletes found out in breakfast yesterday at 4 o'clock in the morning that they weren't going to be racing. And so to be able to then go back to bed, well, you're not going to go to sleep because the adrenaline levels are high. So a lot of them went off, they did a swim, a very, very light swim. Some of them, like Hayden Wild, was seen out on the streets of Paris doing a light jog. And then you've got to build up again, and those adrenaline levels can kind of tire you out. So it is difficult, and it will be the strength of mind that comes to the fore. So they're back and they're racing hard.
Alison, Maz, yesterday I was talking about the quality of the water, Coca-Cola being drunk by some of the athletes to settle the stomachs. I'm also reading about Alex Yee and his kind of temperament. Described as one of the calmest men on the start line in Paris. He kind of takes it, he likes to really slow down and kind of focus.
Yeah, he was the last man actually onto the pontoon before these triathletes dived into the Seine, taking his time. We saw him in the transition area as well a couple of minutes before the start of this race, just going through his equipment, checking everything is exactly where he wants it to be in his box. Obviously the transition is so important as well to save as much time as possible between the swim and then into the bike and then into the run. But Alex Yee, Alison, saying, I'm at my best when I'm in control and when I'm calm. And he is that kind of man. He has got that kind of temperament.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he never ages. He's like Peter Pan. He looks so young. He almost looks like, he's won a competition to go and stand on the pontoon with all of the big triathletes. But his racing strategy, he's very intelligent in his racing. He's moved from my sport of athletics across to triathlon. He is a vicious racer. But when it comes down to it, he doesn't need to big himself up. He doesn't need to. The Hayden Wild, New Zealand, he leaves that to him. He's effectively like the sprinter, Naga, who likes to talk himself up. But they do have a lot of respect, these guys, because ultimately it's them against each other, but it's them against the distance and them against the event, because it's such a brutal event.
Worth just saying as well, Naga, sorry to interrupt, but the water is 22 degrees C. I mean, it's not cold out there. Humidity 90%. And, we're expecting the temperatures to rise and rise. Ali was saying earlier to be nearly 30 degrees when these guys are approaching the end of their run, and obviously therefore that temperature is going to be a lot hotter than they perhaps were expecting if this race had taken place earlier, if this race had taken place yesterday morning when it was originally scheduled. So all of these could be factors, as well as the fact of the uncertainty, as Ali was touching on, the fact that we didn't know if this race was going to take place in this format or when indeed it was going to take place.
Do you know, I'm looking at the penalties. It's really worth kind of explaining, because we're seeing the swimming at the moment, the swimming part of the triathlon at the moment, and I'm looking at the penalties. So you've got things like an early start, leaving equipment outside the box in transition, that's obviously the cycles, taking a shortcut, unsportsmanlike behaviour. Now when you're in that big group, that shoal, so to speak, there's got to be the odd elbow, hasn't there? The odd kind of flick with the foot.
There is a reason it's called the washing machine, Naga, and it really is. We're just seeing them come onto the blue carpet. The added transition here in Paris is they have 36 steps to head up into that transition one, and that in itself, can you imagine how the quads are feeling as you come out of the water after a 1,500 metre swim and you have to face these steps?
It sounds fantastic. Their legs must be burning. We will come back to you both. Maz, Alison, thanks very much. Earlier this morning, there was a bronze medal for Beth Potter in the women's triathlon. She was in a leading group of 4 in the closing stages. The gold went to France's Cassandra Beaugrand on home soil. We can hear from Beth Potter. She's been talking to JJ Chalmers.
Beth, that was an absolutely epic race. Give me your thoughts so far.
I mean, I'm just so happy. I was going for the gold, but Cassandra and Julie were just too good for me today. But I'm super happy to come away with the bronze. It was like 8 years ago I watched Vicky and Non on Copacabana, and I was on the track team. So I've come a long way in 8 years, and it's just I'm so happy to be here and with a bronze medal.
Yeah, the most spectacular of circumstances, the toughest of races. But talk to me about that medal. What is it going to mean to you when you get it later on today?
I don't know. I feel like I I did it for me, but I also did it for everyone that's helped me in the past 8 years and believed in me from day one. And it's for them. It's for them back home as well.
Ultimately, you were in a pack of 4 towards the end there, only 3 medals to be handed out. That's about as tough as it comes.
Yeah.
You really couldn't let up to the very, very end.
No, I've dug really deep and I found something else.
That swim in particular was utterly brutal. You got yourself in a wonderful position, but that must have taken a lot out of you.
Yeah, I think I just tried to stay. My coach just told me to stay in the top 5 and try to stay towards the front, and mainly stayed out of trouble. Got caught behind a couple of crashes on the bike, but managed to stay upright, and was just trying to be sensible and not do anything mad, just be safe. Yeah.
Speaking of safe, I mean that was a treacherous ride. Is that perhaps what you were expecting? Because ultimately that downpour this morning must have been fairly ominous for you.
Yeah, I mean, it said it was going to be dry, but it was obviously very wet. But yeah, I live and train in Leeds, so I'm used to those conditions, and I've done many sessions with the boys in the wet, so I was prepared, and I just didn't want to make any silly mistakes, and I made sure I just stayed on good wheels and tried to stay as safe as possible.
What brilliant focus. So that was Beth Potter, who got a bronze medal in the women's triathlon earlier. Should say, now, the women's synchronised 10-metre platform final is underway in the Paris Aquatics Centre. The British pair, Lois Toulson and Andrea Spendolini-Sirio, have already had their first dive. We have some technical difficulties here, but I promise you I'm going to take you to Jonathan Overend, Steve Parry, and new Olympic bronze medalist Scarlett Mew-Jensen very shortly, who will bring you expert analysis, because it's only in the first round. So don't worry too much about that, but we will keep you up to date, of course. Let's go back to Maz Faruqi at the triathlon, and Alison Kirbishley as well. What an achievement. Beth Potter is a cool cucumber, isn't she?
I think she probably was a very hot one after that one.
Yes,
I tell you
her
what,
mind was cool.
But no, she absolutely was. I was starting to get a little bit worried as the blue carpet and that finish line was closing, and she kept looking over her shoulder to see where Lombardi, the French athlete, was for 4th, because as we talked through the final laps of that run, it was 4 people for 3 medals, she gave it her all, and I think it was a real credit to her to come in here with a lot of British hopes. She was world champion last year. She won on the test event here in Paris, so big hopes for Beth Potter, but she did deliver. But up against Cassandra Beaugrand, she put the hammer down in that final lap.
Can I bring you a little fact that
you
I've just
absolutely
discovered?
Can.
You probably know this already, but our listeners may well not. I didn't. So her partner, Dave Butler, has a PhD in computer science from the Alan Turing Institute, right? And he was crunching the numbers to discover exactly what it takes to win Olympic gold, saying, we're always looking at ways to understand what's required to win a race and how an advantage can be gained. Simply watching races, even closely, can often lead to a very biased and incorrect conclusion about what's actually required to win. So he analysed 75 standard distance races that have taken place since the championship series began in 2009, split them all up, and then he just analysed it all and kind of fed into Beth Potter's training. Now, I love little nuggets of knowledge like that.
Oh, without doubt. I mean, it's a stats-driven event. It's about, we're watching the men on the bikes now. It's all about their power wattage, their output, and pushing yourself up to the line, but not going over that line, because you've got to leave something for the run. And I don't know whether you saw Cassandra Beaugrand as she crashed to the floor at the finish line, as she crossed the finish line, winning the Olympic title. She had her watch, but instead of wearing it around her wrist, she wears it just around her 4 fingers, where the dial of the watch is on her inside of her hand, so she can just keep looking at it. She has quite a low arm carriage when she's running, and every so often she's just looking at it. Well, it's looking at pace, it's looking at her heart rate. All of this data is so important with these guys, because they have 3 disciplines. They have to push themselves, and they have to think about their limitations, but at the same time the damage they're doing to others. I mean, we've just seen a lead group of 3 be sucked up now, and already now we've got Alex Yee. We're looking for Sam Dickinson, who's our other British triathlete in here. He has specifically been selected to be a pilot for Alex Yee, to really make the bike hard but lead out Alex Yee and make it easier for him. It's not going to be easy, a 40k bike ride at the sort of pace that they're going at. But it worked very well for them at the Commonwealth Games. Alex Yee came home ahead of Hayden Wild. At the moment, they'll be just thinking, let's get away. This lead group at the moment is down to, 2, 4, 6, 7 in this lead group. And then Alex Yee is in that following group that are just hunting them down.
Yeah, Alex Yee came out of the water in 18th place. Now, just behind this lead pack of, 5, 6 athletes, as Ali's saying, really putting the pedal down. But what's really, really interesting is that Sam Wilde, we mentioned of New Zealand, a really big contender, came out the water nearly 2 minutes behind the leaders out of the swim phase of this race. So he's got some ground to make up as well. But Naga, these riders are going at an absolute rate. I mean, the speeds that these guys are going down. And obviously the course has dried out now somewhat. We saw a lot of the women slipping and sliding, wheels going out under them. We heard Beth Potter saying it there during the bike phase of their race. Lots of cobbles along this route as well. And in the wet conditions earlier, that was very treacherous. But it has dried out a bit now, and these men are being able to take advantage of that.
Excellent. Maz, Alison, we will come back to you both. I'm just reminding people that we are going to take you to the women's diving as well, the 10 metres synchronised platform. I've just seen Team GB do round 2, some good scores coming through, but I'll get Jonathan Over and Steve Parry and Scarlett Mew-Jensen to bring you up to date with that when we get to them, when we sort out the gremlins who are making trouble with our technical wires at the moment. However, no such gremlins when it comes to Sarah Orchard at the hockey. Now, Sarah, hello. There was an equaliser. There was an equaliser by Team GB just as we came to you at 10 o'clock. What's happened now? It's half time.
Yeah, that's right. Half-time at the Yves de Manoir Stadium. It's Great Britain 1, South Africa 1 still. Now, this is a really important game today, Naga, for Great Britain's women. They're currently at the bottom of Pool B. They've played 2. They've won nothing. And South Africa are ranked the lowest in this group. They're 18th in the world. Great Britain came into this competition ranked 6th in the world. That's based on England's ranking. And if they don't get a win today, they're going to have to rely on winning their last 2 games and other results going their way. So they really do have to win this day. It won't be curtains if they lose this, but it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to progress to the quarterfinals.
OK, Sarah, we are keeping fingers and... Yeah, I've just crossed my toes as well. So it wasn't easy. I've got trainers on. Thanks very much. So I'll come back to you soon. I should tell you, Team GB very much in the running in the women's synchronised 10-metre platform final. It's underway at the Paris Aquatics Centre. And Team GB in 3rd place after round 2. But there are a fair few rounds, so we will take you to that as well. I am now going to go to Chris Jones. Now, Chris, hello.
Morning.
Now, you've got double sculls semi-finals.
We have got a lot to talk about today, Naga. So what we'll do, let's recap, and I'll bring Jess Eddy in, Olympic silver medalist from Rio
Jess.
2016. What we've had so far, Jess, we've had the women's pair, so some disappointing news from a GB point of view, because Chloe Brew and Rebecca Edwards, who only got through to the semi-final through the repechage, so never really highly fancied to get on the podium or even get to that final. They just missed out in their semi-final, so they won't be in the final of the women's pair.
Yeah, good race from them. They were just outclassed, to be honest, in today's semi-final. Came in 5th in that race, but they were racing probably one of the favourites of the event, the Netherlands, who dominated their semi-final there. OK, and in the men's pair, and we've said it all week, haven't we, Jess, it's going to be some race come the final, which is 10:30 on Friday. From a GB point of view, the pair of Ollie Wynne-Griffiths and Tom George are there, but they were beaten for the first time this year by the Romanians. They're a big threat. The Sinkovic brothers were outstanding. These Olympic greats were outstanding in their semi-final. You've got the Ireland team of Ross Corrigan and Nathan Timoney, who also came through their semi-final. So come 10:30 on Friday, that is going to be an incredible matchup in the men's pair. And if Ollie Wynne-Griffiths and Tom George can do this and win Olympic gold and go into the record books and join the likes of Pinston and Redgrave, they're really going to do it the hard way. Yeah, this event, the men's pair, is super hot. They've got an oar in each hand. That's what the pair is. So you're rowing on different sides of the boat as each other. It's quite a wobbly boat to row in. Hard to get it right, but when you do get it right, it's a wonderful boat to row. OK, so Naga, that's a bit of a recap of what we've had so far. On the water at the moment, the men's lightweight double and the Olympic champions from Ireland just coming through at the moment to edge their
their semi-final at the moment. This highly popular team of Fintan McCarthy and Paul O'Donovan, real Irish Olympic legends. So we'll keep an eye on them. And then later on this morning, 11:26, the men's quad final, 11:38, the women's quad. Both sculling races, real GB opportunities for the first medals of the regatta. So 11:26 for the men and 11:38 for the women. The two finals with medals up for grabs.
We'll be with you, Chris, Jess, thanks very much. We've got Jonathan Overend, who's at the diving. Jonathan, good to have you.
Bonjour.
Très bien.
Are you
Et vous?
enjoying the Olympic Games?
Oh, I'm loving it. Do you know what? I'm loving the fact that wherever you go, good things seem to happen, which is kind of you in life, really. But you seem to be a medal talisman. And I hope I haven't put juju on that.
Of course, there must be the impression, and I've got Steve Parry alongside me, there must be the impression, because people think I'm everywhere, that I've just sort of overslept and I'm late for the diving final.
No.
Please back me up, Steve.
I explained the gremlins, worry not. We've had naughty gremlins.
But let's set the scene. We're inside the aquatic centre once more. This is the women's 10-metre synchro platform final. So it's straight to the final again. 8 nations. Britain are in there. China are in there. Of course they are. Mexico, North Korea, the USA, Canada, Ukraine and France. This is Tom Daly's discipline from the other day. Remember, Tom and Noah Williams won silver medals. And going for Great Britain, Andrea Spendolini-Siriex and Lois Tolson. Now, Andrea is only 19 years of age, but already in her second Olympic Games. She went to Tokyo at the age of 16, had a breakthrough year 2 years ago when she won gold at the Commonwealth Games, and they also, as a pair, won bronze at the World Championships this year. So they're definitely among the medal contenders. Lois Tolson, 24 years of age from Huddersfield, in her third Olympic Games, but looking for a first medal. There's no doubt, Steve, that they're a talented pair. What do you think from what we've seen so far about their medal chances?
Well, it started really well through the required rounds. Great Britain currently in second place. So, another one that we've got to watch out for is North Korea. They've had a great season. They've done really well last year. Expected to be in the medals, but they're a bit shaky in round one. And what that does is that provides an opportunity for Great Britain to get their noses out in front. And it's just about consistency, isn't it?
Yeah.
Through the 5 rounds, building those points to get the maximum total.
So China are the overwhelming favourites right now. The 3 times reigning world champions, the reigning Olympic gold medalists, and they have 2 teenagers in Chan Hongchan and Chen Yuxi, who are just exceptional performers. So we're kind of looking at them as the gold medal elect. Now, the race is on for the other medals. I mean, of course, anything's possible. We've seen it already in diving, and one slip is all sometimes it takes for you to lose a medal. But, for example, the USA won silver in Tokyo. Mexico won bronze in Tokyo. North Korea won the silver at the World Championships, ahead of Great Britain. So it sort of illustrates how many rivals that Britain do have. We've completed 2 of the 5 rounds. 2 of the regulation dives, the easier dives, have been performed by all 8 nations, and these are the standings. China in gold medal position, Great Britain in silver medal position, and Ukraine, perhaps surprisingly, after 2 excellent dives, are in the bronze medal position as things stand. So round we go again, in rotation, and it is Great Britain who go first. It's luck of the draw as to which nations go in which order, and Britain came out of the bag first, which adds its own unique pressure, I suppose. But Lois Tolson and Andrea Spendolini-Siriex both seem great company. They really do. They're easygoing personalities, and when they were first introduced, they were all smiles. And there they are, up high, the top of the 10-metre platform, and this a forward 3.5 somersault dive in the pike position. Lois nearest to us, Andrea furthest from us. There they go. Oh, there was a bit of a synchronisation issue there. Lois was into the water before Andrea, Steve.
Yeah, she was. And unfortunately, there's a little bit of over-rotation on the execution. So what we're going to see here is scores penalised both on execution and synchronisation. That's not their best dive. They can execute better than that. This could hurt them.
Yep, 7s on the board for Great Britain, and it's a score which will disappoint them. And when we look at the super slow replay, we can see they're just out on the approach to the board. Lois touches the board first, then Andrea slightly, just a split second afterwards. But of course what that does it sets you back on the entire dive, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And I don't want to give listeners the wrong impression here. They're out by millimetres, but that's what this sport is.
Yeah.
You know, you have to execute perfectly through all 5 rounds to get into the medal positions. You know, all is not lost. It just makes their journey a little bit harder. Let's see how everyone else does.
Next up, it's Mexico. Experienced pair. Agundas Garcia and one of the flag bearers indeed in Orozco Loza. Twice a bronze medalist at the Olympic Games, Orozco Loza, including in London at the age of just 15. They've looked brilliant in practice, and that was superb. And Mexico are undoubtedly going to be big medal rivals for Great Britain in this competition.
Well, that was exactly the same dive as the Brits did, and it was executed much better. They're probably going to score better there for that. And the Mexicans are a danger. That's someone that the Brits have got to watch if they are going to get in these medal positions.
Yeah, mainly 7.5s for the Mexicans, so the judges score. Quite a complicated scoring system in diving, but the easiest way to describe it to you is a Strictly Come Dancing style out of 10, but by half-point increments. China are next because they are on the top of the board. We'll see China, then we'll head to the triathlon because, of course, one slip from the Chinese could let in one of these other nations. They're normally so reliable in absolutely every diving competition there is. Only one nation, however, has denied China a clean sweep of the medals at the last 2 Olympic Games, and that nation has been Great Britain. Here they come with forward 3.5 somersaults, leaving the board in perfect synchronicity. They're robotic. It's like the coaches are controlling them down there with PlayStation consoles. It's quite incredible. So China very much in the gold medal position, and it's 9s pretty much all the way for China there. Let's go to the triathlon. Maz Faruqi.
These riders on the second of 7 laps of the bike ride through the streets of Paris, Jonathan. 19 riders in the leading group, and in that group is Great Britain's Alex Yee, silver medalist from Tokyo 3 years ago, but not in that leading group is his big rival, and this has been a developing rivalry with Yee over the last 3 years, Hayden Wilde of New Zealand, and not in that leading group either, Alison Kirbishley, is Sam Dickinson, the other GB athlete.
Yeah, and we were hoping that Sam would do a bit of the work and pilot work for Alex Yee on the bike, and it's clearly the team tactic of the French, but as we look now, it looks like it's the German that's putting his foot down, Matt Hauser on his wheel now. They're really trying to break up this massive group of 19 riders and do the damage early in this bike group, but it's all about just hanging in for Alex Yee.
Yeah, so Alex Yee in this leading pack and coming up to the end of this second lap here, Naga.
Very much, Maz. We'll come back to all the Olympics action in just a moment. I've just got some news to bring you that's coming through, some breaking news. Former BBC presenter Hugh Edwards has pleaded guilty to making indecent images of children. The 62-year-old admitted to having 41 images on WhatsApp, including 7 of the most serious type. This is when he was charged in June for making indecent images of children, now appearing in court today at Westminster Magistrates Court, and he's been charged with 3 offences relating to those images shared on WhatsApp between December 2020 and April 2022. I will bring you more on that as the day and this programme progresses, but just that news to bring you at the moment. Time now is 25 minutes past 10. Let's go back to the diving, where Jonathan Overend is, accompanied by Steve Parry and Scarlett Mew-Jensen. Jonathan, I have a question about the scoring. You know, you were describing it as Strictly Come Dancing scoring. Mm-hmm. When I look at the scoring, how do they... So I think there are 5 on the top bit, difficulty, and the other one, execution. They pick just 2, do they? Or 2 or 3 of the scores. How do they pick those?
Yeah, I mean, they're judging both divers individually, so a separate panel of judges, and then there's another panel of judges looking at the synchronicity, Steve. So, and what happens is the outliers, if you like, the highest couple and the lowest couple are eliminated. So in theory, you get a median score, right?
Yeah, so they're scoring each diver on execution. So there's 3 judges looking at each diver on execution, and then there's 5 judges looking at synchronization. So you've got 11 judges in total. They lose 2 of the judges on each execution score and 2 of the judges on the synchronization score.
Yeah, and
add them up,
times
it by the
times
difficulty.
it by the degree of difficulty, absolutely. Here come Canada, and they're a little out on the approach, and Canada have looked pretty good so far, one of the rivals, but we shall see when their marks come up. That last dive from Great Britain could be costly. It sent them, as things stand, out of the medal positions. Better than them, clear at the top of the leaderboard of China, but that was an excellent dive from Canada. The execution was decent, couple of 8s in there, couple of 7.5s, and they actually move, as things stand, into the silver medal position. Now Mexico and North Korea are also ahead of Great Britain as things stand, but it's very tight. It's very tight between those 4 nations behind China. And then it's France underneath Great Britain at the moment. But Ukraine and the USA are still to go. And after the last round of dives, Ukraine were in the bronze medal position. So we'll be watching them very closely. In the meantime, it's the United States, Delaney Schnell and Jessica Parato, Tokyo silver medalists. But they're going to have to do well from the position they're currently in to repeat that. There they go. That's one of their best dives of the afternoon so far, though, Steve.
Yeah, they've had a problem, Parato and Schnell, all morning where they've been off. You know, there's been about a metre between them when they've entered the water, and they've really got marked down in the previous rounds. But they were looking a little bit better there.
Yeah, they've picked it up slightly. They were 7th after the previous round of dives. Now they're up to 6th. So Ukraine to come. And if they go ahead of Great Britain, it will mean that Britain will be 6th out of 8 with 2 rounds to go. And that's going to mean a huge effort required from Andrea Spendolini-Siriex and Lois Tolson to get into medal contention. But that's the beauty of diving. You just never know what is going to happen next. And there they are, 3 stories high, these Ukrainians on top of the fixed 10-metre platform, and they do an inward dive which is facing towards the board and diving between their bodies, Steve, as they're rotating, and the board. I mean, that's perilous.
Yeah, they really do take it close to that board, but if they go too far away from the board, they do get marked down. They were a little bit off there on the synchronization, not on the timing when they went in, but the distance from the board.
Yes, 7s for Ukraine, and actually they do not go above Great Britain, so that is good news. From 3rd in the last round, Ukraine, now down to 6. So that's 2 rounds of dives complete. Here are the standings, and a reminder, you're listening to the women's synchro 10-metre platform final with Andrea Spendolini-Siriex and Lois Tolson going for Great Britain. China in the gold medal position. Canada, after that excellent 3rd dive, are in the silver medal position. And then Mexico and North Korea are bang level in 3rd place. So they, at the moment, are on exactly the same score, which is really quite rare. And then it's Great Britain. Not too much between them. So into the 4th round of the competition. And this is where the Brits are performing an inward 3.5 somersault dive in the tuck position. Now, all their other dives, Steve, are in the pike position. But this one, the legs bent, held closely together in the tuck position.
Yeah, this is a strong dive for them, so let's hope they can execute well, get themselves back in those medal positions.
They turn around on the very edge of the board. They're on tiptoes. Their back is towards the pool. It's extraordinary. They're not looking where they're going. Ready? And here they go. And it's a good dive. It's a good dive. Perhaps a little out right at the start, Steve, but they got it back.
They pulled it back. They really did pull it back at the end there. Both divers individually executing well. Synchronization maybe slightly off. Let's see what they get.
There's an 8 in there, which is good. There's mainly 7s, though. So, yeah, well, we're not going to know until everyone's gone. That's the reality of these competitions, Steve, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's solid. They've placed down a good marker, 69 points overall. That will worry the other divers and put the pressure on them. And this is about building pressure in diving. You've got to show those divers that are following you that you're laying down a good score.
But only 1 dive to go. I mean, this competition, these Olympic Games for these athletes can be over so quickly. One dive to go for Great Britain. Now they just have to wait patiently while everyone else goes, and it's simply a case of seeing how many more nations, Naga, go above Great Britain and push them out of the medals.
We'll take a look. We'll keep an eye on it. Jonathan, for the moment, thanks very much. Time now is 10:31. Those of you who've been with us for the last half hour would have heard me bringing you some news away from the Olympics. The former BBC News presenter Hugh Edwards has pleaded guilty to 3 counts of creating indecent images of children. He admitted the offences at a brief hearing at Westminster Magistrates Court in London this morning. Let's take you to Seema Katecha, who is there for us. Seema, what more can you tell us in terms of what's happened this morning? Good morning, by the way.
Good morning, Naga. Yeah, he walked in around an hour ago from the side of the court, flanked by several police officers wearing a dark blue suit, a blue tie and sunglasses, staring straight ahead. He was surrounded by photographers. It really was quite the frenzy. A photographer actually fell to the ground and smashed his camera as he tried to get a picture of the former presenter. He then was led into the double doors to the court where I'm standing now, and he pleaded guilty when he got inside to those three charges of making indecent images of children. We had been told previously on the charge sheet that there were 37 images that he was accused of making, which he's pleaded guilty to, but they are actually 41 images, and 7 of those images are of a serious nature, so they fall into something called Category A, which is the most serious level of pictures, of content, should I say. So it's 41 images, 7 of which are at that serious level. So he stood up to confirm his name, his date of birth, his address. He spoke very quietly when he said the words guilty 3 times. But apart from that, that's all he said. There were some legal conversations going on between the prosecution and the defence. And we've just heard in the last couple of minutes that the judge is not going to sentence Mr. Edwards today. The judge has said it's appropriate to hear more about Edwards, his motivation, his risk of offending, and his health issues. The judge also said that his powers as a magistrate might not be sufficient enough to sentence Edwards. He's asked probation to prepare a report between now and the 16th of December, and he's been granted conditional bail.
Seema, thanks very much for taking us through that. That's Seema Katecha, our correspondent outside Westminster Magistrates Court, where the former BBC News presenter Hugh Edwards has pleaded guilty to 3 counts of creating indecent images of children. 10:34, let's take you back to Olympic action and the diving. Jonathan Overend, how's it going?
So we're halfway through the penultimate round of dives for all these nations, Naga. The women's synchronised 10-metre platform final with Andrea Spendolini-Siriex and Lois Tolson going for Great Britain. China are metronomic. They are incredible, and they are in the gold medal position. I mean, their lead is so great, Steve. What are you thinking?
Well, they might not have to do the last round, eh? They could just take a certainly for the medals.
They might win it with just 4 dives. That would be incredible. So we're looking at some of the GB competitors, and these are most definitely one of them. The North Koreans, Jo and Kim. And here they go with their inward dive, and it's pretty good. There's quite a bit of splash, or certainly more splash, from the diver closer to us, Steve.
Yeah, that was good from them. They're certainly going to be up there with Great Britain going into the last round, if not slightly ahead of them. They've really, they didn't start well in the first couple of rounds, but they've really got into their groove in round 3 and 4.
Yeah, mainly 8s for North Korea, and they pull clear a little bit in second position in this competition. What we have learned so far in this penultimate round of dives is that the Mexicans did underperform by their high standards and actually are below Great Britain right now. So Lois and Andrea are definitely in contention, but they'll be worried about Canada at the moment. Here come the Canadians. And all you can do when you've done your dive is just watch and be patient and be just as calm as you possibly can. And we were hearing from Tom Daly and Noah Williams the other day about how some of them sometimes just completely ignore what everyone else is doing and deliberately don't listen to the scores. Here come Canada, McKay and Miller. What do you think, Steve?
Oh, it's good. It's very, very good from the Canadians. Workmanlike execution there. Coach is happy on the poolside, clapping. That could edge out Great Britain, give them a huge amount to do in the last round.
Yep, they're ahead of Great Britain, Canada, so it means that Britain already are out of the medals with the USA and Ukraine still to go. Now, Ukraine did underperform in their last dive, didn't they? And USA haven't been as competitive as perhaps we thought they might.
Team USA.
So USA are next. We'll just check in at the triathlon with Maz.
4 of 7 of the bike stage of this triathlon, Jonathan, and the leading group of 19 riders, which contains Great Britain's Alex Yee, is being chased down by the chasing pack, Ali, which includes the other Brit, Sam Dickinson, but also Hayden Wilde of New Zealand, the other really big medal contender in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely something that Alex Yee was trying to prevent, that chasing group getting onto the back of their lead group of 19. But Hayden Wilde and the team of that chasing pack have done well, and they've just made their way slowly back onto the back of that pack now. This pack has now got about 30 cyclists in it, and they will basically just try and stay out of trouble, not hit the deck, and just work through these next 3 laps, and it's going to be a foot race.
The riders going down the Arc de Triomphe now. Such a picturesque route, this, through the city streets of Paris, but so many riders now together in this leading pack. Still far, far too close to call, with a couple of laps to go of the bike stage.
Well, we're up here in the Saint-Denis region of Paris, in North Paris, at the Aquatic Centre, the brand new centre, the only new permanent facility that's been built for these games. And we're watching the last dive in the penultimate round. It'll be the medals to be won over the next couple of minutes here on 5 Live. We're watching Ukraine, and there are twists galore as Ukraine pull out possibly their best dive of the competition.
Well, that was brilliant. Exactly when Ukraine needed it, they have delivered in the penultimate round. They're going to stack up some serious points here with this dive, and again, that could add more pressure onto Great Britain.
Yep, it's a good dive, but 7s and 7.5, Steve, and Steve's looking at me in an alarming way.
I thought that was incredibly tough on that dive. I mean, yes, I'm not a diving judge, but that looked absolutely brilliant from the Ukrainians there.
So every team now has 1 dive to go. Here are the standings. China, well clear in gold medal position. Then it's North Korea, then it's Canada, and then it's Great Britain in 4th. Mexico, Ukraine, USA and France are behind them. The medal is still on. Can they get it? It's going to depend on the dive of their lives. Andrea Spendolini-Siriex, daughter of TV personality Fred Siriex, who's sitting just a few seats away from us, and Lois Tolson in her 3rd Olympic Games, but remember, she's never won a medal before. They're smiling on the top of the board, 3 stories high. Somehow, no idea how, but they're ready. Are they ready to deliver for Great Britain? They may still need to rely on an error from either North Korea or from Canada, but it is quite tight. I think North Korea might be feeling relatively confident at the moment because they've got a little bit of a lead, but everything can still change. Good luck, girls. Spendolini-Siriex, closest to us. Tolson, furthest from us. A back 2.5 somersault with 1.5 twists. Aerial acrobatics. Here we go.
Nail it. Oh, good entry.
Dive.
Well done.
That is how to deliver at the Olympic Games.
Exactly what they needed to do. Jack Law up in the stand, boyfriend of Tolson, is going absolutely mental. He loved it. Fred loved it in front of us as well. Did the judges love it? That's the question.
So, what a dive that was from Spendolini-Siriex and Tolson and Chris Jones, the rowing.
150 metres to go, overs in this lightweight women's double sculls semi-final, and perhaps GB's strongest crew of all, Emily Craig and Imogen Grant, are storming into the final. They've not been beaten all year. They've not been beaten all Olympiad, and with 90 metres to go, there is clear water between them and New Zealand and the USA. Business is to attend to on Friday for this pair. 11:22, heartbreak of Tokyo. They finished 4th by 0.01 seconds, and they're looking for redemption in this event. They cross the line, win their semi-final, unbeaten again. and it's all eyes now on Friday, Jess Eddy.
Well, they were put under pressure there. The New Zealand crew, they squeezed back towards them, but the British crew had an answer. That was excellence. That was calm. That shows you why they're favourites for this event.
So 10 GB boats, Jonathan, came to this regatta. 9 have made the finals. Early this morning, Chloe Brew, Rebecca Edwards missed out in the women's pair. But over the next 4 days, 9 GB boats will go for medals in the rowing.
Thank you very much indeed, Chris. Mexico next. It was an excellent score from Great Britain. As we anticipated, they have set the pace. Can Mexico deliver? One of their flag bearers is up there, Andrea Orozoloza. They're slightly off on takeoff, Steve, but they might have just pulled it back.
Yeah, exactly the same dive as the Brits there. Back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, all executed in under 2 seconds. And the Olympic Games for the Brits comes down to this. What scores are the Mexicans going to get? There's a
less than Britain. They're behind Britain. That is a big win. That is a big win. Tick one off from a Great Britain point of view. Mexico came in as one of the medal favourites. Woof. Well,
they've got a chance.
They've got a chance. But there are strong nations to come. China are next, and we're discounting them. They've practically won the gold without having to do their final dive. The really key ones are going to be North Korea and Canada from here. Spendelini, Siriax and Tolson have done all they can. They had a disappointing third dive, but they've pulled it back admirably. I'm always in awe of athletes who can suffer that disappointment midway through competition, but somehow get themselves together.
Well, round 3 was an absolute disaster for them.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah, but they went from 2nd to 6th. It's all about consistency, this game. Jonathan, these 5 dives take a cumulative time of 10 seconds. Every 4 years, you get 10 seconds to try and win a medal. It's ridiculous.
China for the gold. Again. They've won all the gold so far in this diving arena, and they're going to win this one as well. Here they go, Chen and Chuan.
Wow,
faultless.
It's just every single dive the Chinese have delivered. Chuan and Yushi, they've been absolutely brilliant all the way through. There's a reason they're 3-time world champions. It's a thing of beauty to watch, Jonathan.
Yep, so China are going to win the gold again. By their very high standards, Naga, I think they might pick 1 or 2 little faults in that dive, but they are going to win the gold. Now it's about everybody else. Naga.
Jonathan, I'm fascinated by what's going on here. Everything from just the bodies, what their bodies go through. I was looking at the Team GB divers, in the wrist straps as well, and I was looking at the Chinese divers as well. The impact of that water on those wrists, are those for Team GB, are they there to protect the wrists or because they're damaged? Because I imagine you can't have anything that keeps your wrists straight.
So Naga, they're hitting the water at huge velocities here. They're slinging themselves off the 10-metre boards, accelerating at over 3 metres per second, and they're punching their way into the water. That they literally punch the water to create a pocket of air, so they're not creating any splash. And those impacts, they do cause damage to the body over the years, and that's why they get strapped up to protect themselves.
I'm looking at the difference between the other medal contenders, Steve and Naga, and Great Britain, and to say USA and Ukraine are going to have to pull out the dives of their life is understating it, really. I think we can discount them. We can certainly discount France. They are bottom of the pile at the moment. So France, who've just gone, they're not a rival for Britain, who, as things stand, are in the silver medal position, crucially ahead of one of their big rivals, Mexico. Now it's all about, can they stay ahead of North Korea and Canada? I think it might just be down to those 2.
Yep. Next 2 dives, North Korea first, and then Canada, will decide whether Great Britain get their 3rd medal from this diving arena. It could not be closer.
I saw Jack Law and Tom Daly as part of all the team GB supporters in the stands. How do they look at the moment? I don't know if we can see them, because often you just kind of, I wonder if they're head in hands or just kind of
like
quite
the
calm.
rest of us, Naga, super nervous. Tom's having to but this is it now. Next 10 seconds, this is it.
North Korea, Joe and Kim. They started the competition fairly slowly, but then they really performed in the third round and got themselves into the medal positions. They were in the silver medal position. So if everything goes to plan, they should go ahead of Great Britain with this dive. But will they? Look up again, and there they are, 10 metres high, just underneath the ceiling. Britain watch on nervously. North Korea. Oh, it's a lovely dive. It's a lovely
excellent.
dive. There's hardly any splash at all, Steve.
No, it was. They were like twins there, the way that they executed against that. Very minimal splash. They were maybe off in their alignment by 10 centimetres, but the judges aren't going to score them down too much for that. I mean, a backwards 2.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists, almost perfectly executed. It was excellent. I fear that is going to be too much. It'll put the Brits down to third.
This is going to be so tight. Some of the scores have been coming up really quickly in this final round. And yes, they go above Great Britain. So Britain are currently in bronze medal position. It can be no better for Spendolini, Siriex and Tolson. And now the Canadians. How many points behind Britain are they? They're 73 points behind, Steve.
Yep. I think if it's 7.5 and 8, we might have a chance of a medal here. But they're more than capable of that, the Canadians.
Kate Miller, Kaylee Mackay for Canada. They were 6th at the World Championships. And here they are. Can they be nervous? Can they be calm? What on earth is going through their minds? And what about Lois Tolson and Andrea Spendolini Siriex by the side of the pool? All they can do is watch. Dare we say it comes down to this, another medal for Britain. Here come Canada.
No,
they're out of sync. No, I'm going to call it. Canada are not going above Great Britain, but we have to wait. No reaction at all from Spendolini, Siriex and Tolson, but that could be a bronze for Britain.
Canadians look so nervous on this, and rightly so. It was executed okay. The synchronization was off, and the judges are taking their time over this one. It could be another medal here, Jonathan.
Will Canada do enough to edge ahead of Britain into bronze medal position, or will they be behind? We wait. We still wait. And we wait some more. No, they are not. They are in 4th. So Britain remain in bronze medal position with only 2 dives to come. And we think it's too much for the United States. We think it's too much for Ukraine. That should be bronze for Great Britain. We have to wait, though. That is the real agony, isn't it, of the diving and these sort of competitions, Steve. You just can't say for sure.
I'm made up for the girls. They're down, they're crying on the side of the pool. They think it's enough. Boyfriends are crying in the stands. Tom Daly's still knitting, looking calm. But
what a magnificent achievement this is from Andrea Spendolini Siriex and Lois Tolson. Another synchro medal for Great Britain, it seems. Remember, it has been 1960 since the last female medal for the British diving team, and that was achieved on Saturday. And now they've gone and won 2 in the space of 3 days. That's an excellent dive, however, from Parato and Schnell from the United States, but it has to be absolutely wild on the scores for Britain to do it. And
so
I don't think
the Americans could do this, Jonathan, if they score the same as the Chinese. But that did not look as good as the Chinese dive to me. I can't see them getting ahead of the Brits.
They're 6th. The United States are 6th, so they're out of it. 1 dive to come. Only Ukraine can prevent Great Britain. And again, as you say, it's got to be majestic. It's got to be the best dive the Ukrainians have ever delivered, and it's practically got to be as good as the Chinese can do it. So while we're saying this is looking like a bronze medal, we can't be 100%.
Yeah.
But there are smiles. There are smiles from Tolson and Spendolini Siriex, but frankly, they're lovely. They smile all the time anyway.
9.5 required here from the Ukrainians, so we do wait with bated breath.
China have won the gold. North Korea have won the silver. And Great Britain have won the bronze, because that is not going to be good enough for Ukraine, I fancy. Andrea Spendolini, Siriex, Lois Tolson, huge congratulations. Another synchronised diving medal for Great Britain, unless the judges do something extraordinary, Steve.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jonathan. It's not going to be good enough. It was a great forward 3.5 with a somersault in there as well.
Where are they going to finish, Ukraine? I fancy they'll be high. They might even be fourth. Where have they gone? Where have they gone? They've gone seventh. It was nowhere near good enough. Britain are confirmed with the gold medal. What an achievement. With a bronze medal, I beg your pardon. It's all too much, Steve, here at the Olympic Games. It feels like a gold for Spendolini-Syriacs and Lewis Tolson. Quite brilliant. And when you consider their rivals are the unbeatable Chinese and the inspired North Koreans, the silver medalists in the World Championships, frankly, it is the gold medal. It's the best of the rest. Come on. Bronze for Great Britain.
Overs, you had a big night last night at the tennis. You've had a big night at the diving. I think you need some sleep, man.
Let's bring in Scarlett Mew-Jensen, who did exactly this on Saturday. 1 bronze medal. And Lois and Andrea have matched you. Brilliant.
Absolutely incredible. I went absolutely mental on the stands. Lost my voice completely, but that was absolutely incredible. I mean, it was down to the wire, but so proud of the girls. Again, ran over. Too excited to talk about it, but
it was a bit like your competition in that their disappointing dive was right in the middle, and they had to pull it back.
No, exactly. I think it felt so similar. Like, I felt just as stressed, to be honest, if not more. No, they did exactly what they needed to do. They needed to deliver 2 dives that were incredible, and they did that. You know, like, that was just nail-biting.
I'm feeling quite emotional.
I mean, I was up there with Jack, Lois's boyfriend, and crying, tears, and just incredible. You know, they deserve it. They really do. They've worked so hard, and they've delivered every time they needed to, and just, incredible.
You can see the tears now, can't you? You know, with Lois Tolson, she was with Jack earlier, and Andrea as well, and also her dad, Andreas Spendolini-Syriacs' dad, Fred, just cheering, looking very smart as usual, might I say, in his suit in the stadium. But that tension, the mental strength to be able to shake something off, because it's a rapid turnaround, isn't it? You go up, you come down, you sit in the pool for a little bit, and then you're straight on it. I mean, we saw with the men, I mean, Tom just looks straight ahead, doesn't he? He just looked like he was in another world, focusing elsewhere. But it's such a quick, the dives are in such quick succession that you have to be so mentally resilient and quick to shake
Naga,
things off.
We've got 2 really emotional scenes in front of us here. One on the far side of the pool, Jack Law, who we'll see in 2 days' time, gold medalist from Rio. He's coming around to greet his girlfriend, Lois Tolson. And Andrea Spendolini-Syriacs, she wants to do a Pat Cash. She wants to do a Wimbledon up to the players' box to greet her dad, Fred Syriacs from First Dates, who's just in front of us. This is unprecedented, I think, as she wants to get up into the stand. And the unique way the Olympic Games is organised means she probably needs about 100 different accreditations to get to where her dad is, and there'll probably be someone officious who won't let her go. And she's down there on the pool, but she's waving, she's punching the air within sight of Fred, who must be the proudest father in the world right now. And then we get the embrace. There it is between Jack Law and Lois Tolson. And Lois, in her 3rd Olympic Games, wins her 1st medal. What a magnificent achievement from her, Scarlett. A lot will be made of the Andrea story, but for Lois, tell us what it'll mean to her.
Oh, it's about time for Lois. She's absolutely an incredible diver. She deserves this so much. You know, I get to watch her train, and I get to watch her work so hard, and she's so experienced, she's so talented, and she's also just such a great person. Her and Andrea make such a good pairing, and getting to share the house with them as well in the village is it's just us 3 at the moment, so we're loving life, and it's really chilled, and I'm over the moon for both of them, and I'm so happy for both of them. I can't believe it.
It's got to be the most successful house in the village, that.
Oh, well, at the moment, I mean, we've really delivered it. I mean, the first 3 events so far, and we've medalled in everything, and here we go for Jack and Tony.
Which matches the total from the team in Rio and Tokyo. So you've already matched what you did last time out with 5 competitions to go.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I said it last time I was on. This is probably one of the most talented teams we've ever had, and we're just going out there and having fun. You know, you can see it. None of us are miserable. Yeah, you know, like we don't necessarily perform every dive to the best of our abilities, but we're still, you know, enjoying it and soaking it all in, and we get results like this. And yeah.
So can see the emotion on your face, Scarlett. Everybody on this team wants everyone else to be successful. It doesn't seem like there's any niggle there on the team at all.
No, not at all. I mean, I've stood up like 3 times, and I'm not going to lie, I thought I was going to fall forwards in the stands, completely just like overwhelmed with so many different emotions. And I think we'll all have a massive team hug and later, and we've still got so much more in the tank, and that's not been their best performance, but to deliver a bronze with that, it's just like, yeah.
What happens tonight then in terms of like celebration? You can't, or you just kind of like have a cup of tea?
We've got a bit of Yaz's cake in the fridge, so she's not having
You need to tell us what type of cake it is.
I think it's like a strawberry cheesecake or something.
Okay.
I think we left it in the fridge too long, so it froze. But no celebrations for those two. Obviously, still got individual to go. But I'm sort of celebrating for everyone at this point. I'm finished, and I'm just soaking it all in for everyone.
So are you having to be a bit discreet though with your celebrations now you're finished, Scarlett? Because you could be a bit smug about that, couldn't you?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I'm not going absolutely mental. I've had a lot of media and a lot of responsibilities. There's plenty of time for celebrating when I'm home. But I mean, I'm here for the rest of the team now. I'm not here to overdo it. So I'm just I'm prioritising sitting up in the stands and being ready for the events.
It's fabulous position to be in. Jonathan, I'm a bit concerned about your voice because I tell you what, you've had a lot of commentating to do and excitement, and hot honey and lemon, perhaps some ginger.
That'll be the 3.5 hours sleep.
Oh,
that's probably that. I mean, last night was so incredible. None of us involved. We met up. You probably heard the drama with the tennis and the swimming happening at exactly the same time.
Yes.
And of course, we were in different parts of Paris, so we all met up, Steve, didn't we? Because it was lovely. It was like a reunion.
Yeah.
Wow, wasn't that amazing, sort of thing? And it takes you hours to come down after something like that. I suppose a bit like the athletes. I actually posted something in the middle of the night because I wanted to shout out Dan Evans, tagged him in, only one person saw it, and it was Dan Evans.
Oh, that's brilliant.
He can't go to sleep, we can't go to sleep, and of course the next day the alarm goes and you're back in it again, and the team are back winning medals. And that's the brilliant thing about this diving team, I think, in particular, Naga. Every medal that's been won so far is fulfilling the dream, is the pinnacle, effectively. 2 bronzes and a silver. It's as good as we could possibly wish for against these metronomic Chinese opponents. So it's just so good to see that fulfillment and elation.
Do you know, I have to apologise. I was watching the tennis, and as you're switching in between, and I was watching the tennis on the tube. I'd been to see some friends, and I had my headphones in, so I was being considerate, but I was watching it, and I must have looked bonkers, because I was like, oohing, ahhing, going, no, hands on head, kind of fist pumps and everything. So I apologise to everyone who was on the tube with me last night whilst I was watching the tennis, because I must have looked like an absolute loon. But that is the excitement of the Olympics.
Yeah, Olympics will do that to you, Naga. That's what it's all about. I mean, I hope you went mental when the men won the 4x200 freestyle last night.
I'm not going to lie, I watched the tennis.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, the pool really delivering here, eh, Scarlett? The swimmers doing the business.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Diving delivering as well.
Yeah. We're watching it in the house and cheering on. I think there's been a lot of emotion there as well. So, yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for more, really. I think we're doing great.
Oh, I just think it's marvellous, and it's non-stop. This is going to be such a busy day. Take a break, you guys. Chill, rest the voices. No doubt we shall be speaking again. I want to go over to the hockey. Now, at the hockey is Sarah Orchard, and Sarah, we have Team GB playing against South Africa. Tell me some good news.
Yes, good news, Naga.
Yes.
It is all over, and Great Britain have won 2-1 against South Africa. That's their first win of this Olympic pool stage, and a vital win as well. 3 games in, 2 left to play. If they hadn't won this, they would be in all kinds of trouble. It moves them up to 4th in the group, and they've got an absolutely enormous match tomorrow now. That's going to be against the USA. And when I say USA have an assistant coach now called Maddie Hinch, who I think everyone will recognise that name, former GB goalkeeper. goalkeeper who had so many heroics to help them to so many medals as a goalkeeper. So yes, a lot of pressure on this Great Britain team. They have delivered. It wasn't easy, but I have to say the goal that won it, we have to give full credit actually to Giselle Ansley, who put a beautiful aerial that dropped straight into the D and then scored beautifully in the end by Hannah French.
An aerial?
It was an aerial. So when they lift the ball in the air, it's an aerial, which you have to be careful with in hockey because it's quite dangerous to have a hard ball flying around. So as long as you do it safely, you can lift the ball, and it landed beautifully down in the D, and a great strike by French to put it in the back of the goal.
Yeah, hockey was never my game. It was far too difficult, but so pleased for Team GB. Thanks very much for that, Sarah. Sarah Orchard there. So, Team GB beating South Africa 2-1. At the triathlon is Maz Faruqi. And Maz, you've seen the transition change. So they're now back on foot.
Yeah, it's all going to come down, the medals, Naga, to the 10k run. 32 triathletes came through transition from the bike phase into the run, a group that included both Brits, Tokyo silver medalists and our big medal hope in Paris, Alex Yee and Sam Dickinson, who started off at the front of the 10k run with Alex Yee, but then sort of slowed right down, gestured towards him, Ali, almost to say, it's your time, take centre stage, go well, son.
That's lovely.
It is. I guess it's unusual for many new viewers or listeners to triathlon, but, you know, that was his job here. He was here to be the pilot. He was here to make the bike hard for everyone, knowing full well that Alex Yee, once on foot, is by far the strongest runner. And look at the
stretching away already.
Already he has put so much distance between him and the rest of the field. And with no surprise, the only man that's trying to go with him is Hayden Wilde of New Zealand. These guys were silver and bronze last time around. They were gold and silver in Commonwealth Games. This is a rivalry that we're so used to seeing in the same way that we saw Ali Brownlee versus Gomez of Spain for so many years. It's all about Yee and Wilde now. Well, Yee is saying to Wilde, if you want this Olympic title, you've got to work for it.
Yeah, remember when they came out the water, Hayden Wilde was almost 2 minutes down on the leaders heading through transition into the bike phase. So he has been trying to reel Alex Yee in throughout this race, Naga. Alex Yee, though, trying to set down a marker, working so hard, trying to lead from the front, but Hayden Wilde just trying to reel him in. It's going to be fascinating over the next 3 laps or so.
OK, we will come back to you, I promise. Yee, I mean, the thing he's got, I suppose, at least he beat Hayden Wilde in May. Narrow margin, but he did it, so that kind of gives you a boost, doesn't it? Let's go to Alistair Bruce Ball. Alistair Bruce Ball is back at the La Défense Arena in Paris this morning. We had that brilliant night last night.
Yeah.
What's been going on this morning?
Well, Nagi, you were just in conversation with Jonathan Oberin there about the incredible highs of Olympic sport, and we had that amazing 10 minutes last night with Andy Murray and Dan Evans doing their thing at Roland Garros, and the Fab Four for Great Britain, the men's 4x200 metre freestyle relay, defending their Olympic crown. But you also get incredible lows at the Olympics, and actually we've seen one of those this morning for Great Britain. So in the men's 200 metre backstroke heats, Luke Greenbank swam beautifully. He was the bronze medalist in Tokyo 3 years ago. So there I was turning my head. He finished the swim. He was fastest in his heat, and I was looking at the screen to see his time pop up to see where it ranked against all the other swimmers to take them through to the semi-finals. And then at the bottom of the screen I see disqualified. Luke Greenbank has been disqualified from the men's 200 metres backstroke because he spent too long underwater, Naga. To explain the technicalities of it.
We spoke about this yesterday.
At the start of the race, when the swimmers launch themselves off and at each turn, they spend a bit of time underwater, but you are only legally allowed to be under the water for 15 metres. You have to surface by 15 metres and have your head back up above the water. We've seen the replays after the race, and that is what he has been penalised for. He has been underwater for too long at some point in that race, so unfortunately he's disqualified.
Because obviously the advantage is because underwater you go faster.
Correct.
Than when on the surface.
Correct.
How long did it take for that decision to come through?
No, it's very quick. It came up very quickly, and Naga, I don't have Steve Parry or Karen Pickering with me, so I do.
I won't
like
ask
you.
the silly questions.
No. But I have some questions about it because you know, how often does that happen? You'd think, right, well, you know, be extra careful with that, particularly in a heat where you're in control. Why take the risk? How did he not notice? How often does it happen?
I wonder if there's a marker on the
there
base
is.
of the
There is.
yeah,
there is. And then the other thing, Naga, I just wondered as well was, I just turned to my television colleagues here. Adrian Morehouse is part of the commentary team, about the right to an appeal. But Adrian Morehouse said to me, looking at the replay, he was so far beyond the mark you could appeal, but you know, nothing is going to happen because you've got it wrong. So that's a sad one because he swam well. Ollie Morgan has qualified for the semi-finals. He was 12th fastest, and I'm just looking at the times for the women's 200 metres butterfly heats. Those are the other racing we've had this morning.
Yeah.
And both British swimmers have qualified there. Kiana McInnes actually was particularly impressive. She won her heat. She's 7th fastest overall. And Laura Stevens has also got through 14th fastest. So they make it through to the semi-finals of the women's 200 metres butterfly. And that is us done for the day. Well, not done for the day, done for the morning in the pool. We'll be back tonight with more medal races, and the big French hope Léon Marchand is going for a couple more gold medals this evening, so it's going to be buzzing in here again.
Okay, are you going to be watching stuff, or are you just going to have a little break now?
Well, do you know what, Naga, and I think this probably shows my age a little bit. I'm finding the schedule quite hard going, so the other members of the team are dashing off and taking in other sports like the BMX and the judo and whatever. And I go back to the hotel and I have my lunch and I have 2 hours sleep.
Have a nanny nap. The nanny
do.
nap is very underrated.
I know.
I'm a big fan, and
me
we
too.
need you in fine fettle.
Yeah.
So, as always, Ali, okay, get some rest, enjoy the
Will
nanny
do.
nap, and I'll be listening to you tonight.
Thanks,
you.
Naga. Speak
Take care.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.
It is 7 minutes past 11. Wow. We've had some medal action, haven't we, in the last hour? Very late to the news, but you understand why. Here's some of that with Beth Ann Holmes.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
The former BBC News presenter Hugh Edwards has pleaded guilty to 3 counts of making indecent images of children. Appearing at Westminster Magistrates Court, the broadcaster admitted having 41 images on WhatsApp, including 7 of the most serious type. Our senior UK correspondent is Seema Kocher.
The judge is not going to sentence Mr. Edwards today. The judge has said it's appropriate to hear more about Edwards, his motivation, his risk of offending and his health issues. The judge also said that his powers as a magistrate might not be sufficient enough to sentence Edwards. He's asked probation to prepare a report between now and the 16th of December, and he's been granted conditional bail.
The Labour MP for Southport, Patrick Hurley, says people involved in a riot in the town last night had utterly disrespected the victims of the knife attack on Monday. The violence broke out after a peaceful vigil had been held to remember the 3 girls, aged 6, 7 and 9, who were killed. Reverend Marianne Kent, who's from a nearby church, has been speaking to 5 Live.
Listening to the helicopters going overhead and knowing the violence, seeing this black smoke from the police van that was set alight, it was just horrifying. That isn't our community. That is not Southport. And the messages of love that I've been reading on social media this morning, and the solidarity. We are a community coming together in love, in unity to support each other. We choose love, not this hate. We choose to keep dancing, as that young person wrote on that card, and to celebrate life, not to do this.
Iran has declared 3 days of mourning after the killing of the leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh. Hamas says Israel killed him in a raid in Tehran and his death would not go unanswered. Israel hasn't commented. Mr. Haniyeh had been leading the Hamas team negotiating a ceasefire deal in Gaza. And away from the news and to Paris, Team GB's women's 10-metre synchro pair, Lois Tolson and Andrea Spendolini-Syriacs, have won bronze in the diving at the Olympics. Earlier, Beth Potter also took bronze in the women's triathlon.
The Olympics, Paris 2024.
We will be, as we say in the business, flip-flopping. You will not miss a medal and you will not miss a victory here.
And here he comes, Duncan Scott, to retain the title for Great Britain. It's glorious gold.
Down the centre, defensive return, smash from Evans, Britain win!
I literally cannot believe what we've seen. The drama, the roller coaster ride that we've just been taken on.
It's the Olympic Games, it's what it's all about, it's what 5 Live's about.
The Olympics, Paris 2024.
Every Team GB medal live
on 5 Live
and BBC Sounds.
The Olympics. Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Naga Munchetty.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Welcome. You are joining us for day 5 of the Olympic Games. We've just had fantastic news in the diving.
Great Britain have won the bronze because that is not going to be good enough for Ukraine, I fancy. Andreas Bendelini, Syriacs, Lois Tolson, another synchronised diving medal for Great Britain.
We had another bronze in the women's triathlon. It's over to the men now. Maz Faruqi.
Well, Great Britain's Alex Yee is in trouble. He's fallen behind his great rival, New Zealand's Hayden Wilde, in the race for triathlon gold. In fact, he's in danger of being reeled in by the chasing pack. Can he hold on for a medal at the end of this 10K run?
It turns so quickly. There are more chances of a medal to come this hour, including in the rowing. Chris Jones.
Yeah, 9 British boats are into the finals over the next 4 days. Now, it all starts now in 15 minutes' time. The men's quad go at 11:26. The women's quad at 11:38. The first medals of this regatta up for grabs. Can Great Britain deliver on the lake?
Let's hope so. We will bring you every Team G medal live here on 5 Live. You can also follow events on the BBC Sport website and app, or watch on BBC One and the iPlayer.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Naga Munchetty.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
OK, let's go to Maz Faruqi, who's at the men's triathlon. Maz, it was all going so well.
Yeah, Ali and I sitting here with much more concerned faces now than a couple of minutes ago, Naga, because Alex Yee looking really, really tired. Some distance now, what's that, about 10 seconds or so behind Hayden Wilde, who's out in front on this 10K run on the second lap, who's looking really comfortable, right on the pace to take this Olympic title. Alex Yee in silver medal position at the moment.
How many laps,
worryingly,
Maz?
Well, we're on lap 2 of 4,
right.
Naga, so this 10K run split into 4 2.5 kilometre laps, but the chasing pack are getting closer and closer, Ali, and crucially there's a couple of Frenchmen in there working very well together, feeding off this magnificent support, the home crowd as well.
Yeah, as we just see Hayden Wilde hit the blue carpet, he'll see 2 laps to go. That's 5K. He's literally got a park run and he could be the Olympic champion. He looks so good. Alex Yee, as soon as that break happened, and we talk about it being like an elastic band, and once that elastic band from Hayden Wilde snapped, then you could just almost see him become deflated. His one-pace running just really started to look a little bit lethargic. Unfortunately for him, there is this duo, French duo and a Canadian chasing him down. We're just waiting to see the splits. He's 15 seconds behind Hayden Wilde as he comes off the blue carpet on the other side of the Seine, knowing he's just got 2 hard laps. This one is going to hurt. He's got to dig in. He actually looks like he's rallied a little bit to me. The cadence looks good. He looks comfortable, but it's just this duo that's chasing him down of Berger from France and Lecourt and the Canadian athlete. They know that there's a chance of a better looking medal than they could get, and it's all going to be done in this lap now.
Leo Berger is the number 1 ranked Olympic triathlete coming into this race, so a really, really big medal contender. And we saw earlier with the women's race that the French athletes are really feeding off the magnificent support that flanks this route through the city streets, and Alex Yee can see Hayden Wilde stretching off into the distance, and his gap to then the chasing pack was at 22 seconds, but it looks at this point, Ali, like he's still perhaps going backwards, and that's closing.
Yeah, I mean, that's there's not a lot, and the fact is, when you're the chasing group, you know, the momentum is with you. You know, every step they know they're getting closer to Alex Yee, but he hasn't fallen apart yet. For me, he's rallying. He really is looking like he's just trying to hold his form. But it is Leo Berger, the better of the French duo there now. He's got his sights on Alex Yee, and that gap is definitely closing. I mean, it's foreshortening on the camera, but when you see the aerial shot, it still looks like they've got a lot to do.
So this, the third of 4 laps. Is this French duo going to run out of race to try and track Alex Yee? You think there's still going to be late drama in this race? And Naga, I know you can see these pictures as well, but you contrast the effort on Alex Yee's face with how relaxed Hayden Wilde in gold medal position looks at the moment, as Ali's saying, looks like he's out on a Sunday enjoying a jog, enjoying a park run, not in an Olympic final. Alex Yee, in contrast, working so hard. I think the gold medal is way out of his grasp now. I'm going to call it already. Can he, though, hold on for silver, hold on for a podium finish?
Well, Ali was saying he seems to be rallying, so I'm going to kind of go with Ali because I'm ever optimistic. And let's not forget, they've already done a 1.5 kilometre swim and a 40k bike ride. So a 10k run, you can only imagine how the legs are burning. How long have we got before the end?
We're into the last 5k, so probably about 12 minutes.
Okay, we will come
11,
back to you.
12 minutes.
We'll come back to you and build up those last few minutes and see where we're at. Any changes, screen through. This is how the system works. Everyone's got their spot. Screen through and we'll come straight back to you. Thanks, Maz. Thanks, Alison. Back soon. I'm going to take you, it's exciting that, I'm going to take you to the dressage. And I do have a few screens in front of me, and I have just been seeing beautiful dressage this morning. It's day 2 of the qualifying. Team GB, strong positions in the individual and team standings. Sonia McLaughlin. Sonia, may I say thank you for my videos yesterday, because we were talking about the care of the horses, and you sent me these beautiful videos and pictures of how the horses are kept cool, because the temperatures have been soaring there, haven't they?
Yeah, do you know what, Naga? We mercifully, at the minute, have a little bit of cloud cover and a gentle breeze. Oh, my goodness me.
What happened?
Oh, the horse that was just exiting the arena spooked quite badly at one of the judges' huts, and the rider, it didn't come off, thankfully, but yeah, she got a bit of a shock herself there, and she's just giving it a pat to say, okay, we're all right.
And let's remember, these are highly, what's the word? Observant. They're highly tuned horses, aren't they?
They might be beautifully bred. They are trained to... This is elite dressage. They may be trained to the highest standards, but they're still horses, right?
Yes.
And each horse has their own personality. And, I ride a lot, and, you get a horse that is bomb-proof, literally, and then you get another horse that will spook at a plastic bag.
Yeah.
And that horse, I think one of the judges moved in the judges' box, and the horse just wasn't expecting it, and so it just went, whoop, and it took a big jump to the left-hand side, and the rider managed to those riders have a great seat, we call it, when their position in the saddle, and so they were able to avert disaster, it would be fair to say.
What's been going on?
Yes,
shall
I do that? Yeah. This is what's called the Grand Prix. So this is basically the qualifying round, but it impacts both the team and the individual qualification. So there's 60 starters. We had 30 yesterday. There's 6 groups of 10. We've had the second half, if you like, of the field are today. The first 10 went this morning. And we've now got the second group E, actually, and the first few riders in Group E. And so basically the top 2 in each group qualify automatically, and then the rest, another 6, will go through with the best scores to make 18 go through altogether to the individual final, and then the top 10 teams out of 15 teams, with the combined score for each 3 riders, go through to the team final. Does that kind of make sense?
It makes sense, but it's not a straightforward process, is it?
No, it's you need to have your wits about you and the maths and all of that. And what's really interesting actually about these groups, Naga, is that it's very apparent that some of these groups of 10 riders each are much easier than some of the others. And Charlotte Fry came in as the first horse into the arena today in a group that I can only say was stacked.
Oh, okay.
Totally stacked.
Who were the stars?
Well, that's a good question. We had Catherine Laudrup de Fort from Denmark, and I'll tell you in a little bit. Her father-in-law is Brian Laudrup, who used to play for Denmark, 80 odd caps for Denmark playing football, and then Isabel Wirth, who basically is the rock star of world dressage. She has 12 Olympic medals to her name, including 7 golds. And Catherine Laudrup de Fort has a fabulous horse called Freestyle. So Charlotte Fry was going to be up against it a little bit this morning, but she is a double world champion, and she came into the arena on her stunning horse Glamourdale, and then nailed the highest score of the competition so far.
Fabulous. Did you know when you were watching it, could you sense it was going to have a high score?
Yes, because Glamourdale, this stunning black stallion, is a superstar. And as I say, she won double gold at the recent World Championships. This test we're watching at the minute, 33 movements, is complicated. At the Worlds, you get a medal for it. Here, it's just qualifying. And as I say, she came out, went really well, and hit the best score of the round so far.
That was an amazing feeling. To just be in the arena in Paris Olympics is pretty incredible, to be honest. First of the day is not always the easiest place to go, but I felt like, we had such a great round. It's really what we needed to do right now for the team, and it's put us in a really great position.
For people who don't know, this horse, Glamourdale, I think if he was a rugby player, he'd probably be a number 8. He's all muscle on muscle and with the most enormous personality. Just tell us a little bit about him, because I honestly think of all the horses I've seen here, he is probably the most stunning.
That's fine. Not probably, but he really is. And for sure he wouldn't be a rugby player because he wouldn't want to get his feet wet and dirty. He would be a gymnast or an ice skater or something. But he has the most incredible personality. He's the biggest showman you'll ever see. He goes in arenas like that, and you see him when he walks out. He's so relaxed. He's taking in the crowd cheering for him. He's looking at the flags waving, and he just thinks it's amazing. That's like what he lives for. He loves it. And he's a real king in the stable. He gets treated like a king. He knows he's a king. He knows how beautiful he is, and he just loves it when people are looking at him. So he's so cool. He's very chatty as well. When he sees you, he's always whinnying to you to see if he's going to get a little cuddle or a treat. He's just so much fun.
Now, you do go into these Olympics as a double world champion. So I wonder, going up the centre line, is there a little bit of extra pressure on your slim shoulders right now?
I feel like I always put pressure on myself. I always want to be the best we can on the day. And I know we're riding horses, so anything can happen. I think the main thing for me is that we do what we can on the day in that arena at that moment, and that's the most important thing. And the good scores and medals, if they come as well, then that's just an added bonus.
And finally, can I just ask you about your mum, Laura, who obviously passed away very sadly, but it was clearly your inspiration. She was a dressage rider at Olympic level herself, went to Barcelona in '92. Is she often in your thoughts when you're in this environment?
Yes, 100% of the time. She was a huge inspiration to me and still is, and especially competing at the Olympics is such a big thing. So, definitely always kind of driving me to be better, and definitely always in my thoughts and always on my chest with a locket, so that's really nice.
Oh, explain the locket?
I've always had a locket from when she died, and I wear it every competition I ever compete, so it's very special. And then I always have her with me in the arena.
Britain's Olympic dressage rider Laura Fry, who passed away, but Charlotte's mum, a constant inspiration to her. Charlotte's score was ultimately beaten by the two rock stars, Naga, that I mentioned. Catherine Lauder up to 4, hit the first over 80% of the competition. Isabel Vert, her with a dozen Olympic gold medals, came in with a 79.3. So those two went through automatically, but with Charlotte's score of 78.9, she'll go through. There'll be absolutely no issues. She had a little bit of an issue with the rain back at sea. She'll get that right when we get through to when the medals really count. So Great Britain in a good position, because overall they're lying in the silver medal position. Although the scores will be rubbed, it gives you an idea of the quality of the horses and riders that we have here doing the elite dressage for Britain.
Rubbed, sorry. Sonia, thanks very much. I'm going to go back to the triathlon, the men's triathlon. Maz Faruqi and Alison Kirbysley. What's happening?
Goodness me, this is tense, Naga.
Okay.
We're into the final lap of this 10k run. We reckon we've probably got about 5 minutes left, and these 5 minutes cannot come quick enough for Alex Yee. He is fighting so hard. You can see how much exertion, how much effort he is putting in on the facial expressions that he is making. He is still in silver medal position at the moment, about 12 seconds behind Hayden Wild of New Zealand, who is out in front in the gold medal position, looking slightly less comfortable than he did earlier, but still looking on course to maintain that lead, to hold on for this Olympic title. But Leo Boucher and Pierre Lecour the French duo in third and fourth, trying to reel in Alex Yee and get a podium finish of their own, Ali.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really impressed with Alex because that first lap, once Hayden Wilde put in the boot and really made a move, I thought Alex's race was over. He looked like he was spent, he looked deflated, but he's been able to rally in that middle 5K. But Leo Berger has got Alex Yee in his sights, and not only has he got Alex Yee in his sights, the roar of the crowd is absolutely deafening, and they're willing the French guy on to better the bronze and change it into silver. Alex Yee is running out of time, but he's going to see the blue carpet very soon.
200 metres to go in this triathlon men's final. Alex Yee being reeled in. What's happened with you at the rowing, Chris Jones?
Underway, the first medal race of this regatta, Maz. The men's quadruple sculls. Great Britain go in lane 2. Silver medalists in Tokyo. Destiny. Legacies made over the next 5 minutes or so.
Less than 200 metres to go for Alex Yee here. About 150 metres left of this 10K run at the end of this men's triathlon final here in Paris in 2024 at the Olympic Games. Hayden Wilde of New Zealand counting down the seconds, counting down the metres as he makes his way to the finish line, towards the blue carpet, towards that ticket tape. He is going to be the Olympic champion. But what colour medal is Alex Yee going to end up with this morning? He is being tracked by the Frenchman. There's home support lining the streets of the centre of Paris. Is really fully on board the home support there, and these French athletes are finding energy right at the end, Ali.
And look at Hayden Wilde's knee lift. He's hardly got any. He's almost race walking. He's just finding it so hard. It's one foot in front of the other, Hayden, and then you will be Olympic champion. But Alex Yee is feeling it. He's now feeling it, Maz. Alex Yee, as he sweeps round, he can see Hayden Wilde.
Alex Yee has found a last burst of energy right at the end of this 10K. Ali and I are on our feet. Has he got enough in the tank here, Alex Yee, to track down Hayden Wilde? He's closing down the meters. This is amazing from Alex Yee. He's found energy out of nowhere, and he passes the New Zealand athlete, and Alex Yee is out in front. He's stretching away from the Kiwi. It's going to be Alex Yee who is going to take this gold medal, and he's suddenly found a burst of energy out of nowhere, Alex Yee, as he comes onto the blue carpet, Ali.
Alex Yee, you are an absolute legend. Where did he get this from? He never gave up hope. He's onto the blue carpet. He's meters away from being the Olympic champion.
Oh, I thought he had nothing left, but Alex Yee fist pumps as he comes up towards the finish line. For so many years, British triathlon has been linked with the Brownlee brothers, but now we have another Olympic champion in the men's triathlon. Alex Yee of Great Britain is the Olympic champion in Paris 2024. Wow!
Oh, we have been absolutely delivered 2 amazing races today. All credit to Hayden Wilde. He really did know that he had to make it hard from the outset to beat Alex Yee, and we thought that he had it, but he just ran out of legs. And it was such an impressive run from Leo Berger from France to take third, and Pierre Lecour from France took fourth place. What a race! But Alex Yee, absolutely phenomenal. The two men are spent. They are absolutely, they have given it all. I have no words. How on earth did he do that?
Alex Yee slumped to the side of the hoardings. My word, gold medal for Alex Yee in the men's triathlon. What's happening with you at the rowing, Chris Jones?
600 metres to go, Maz. Great Britain in fourth, but making good progress on the poles. Netherlands out in front, the Olympic champs, the world champs. It looks like they're going to win again. The Dutch, Italy in second. Britain pipped them to the post to silver in Tokyo 3 years ago. But Jess Eddy, you said all along it's probably a battle for bronze, and it looks like it's going to come down to that. With 500 metres to go, Britain against Poland for bronze.
Britain have about 1 minute to stamp their place in this race. They're still in contention. They're overlapped with the Italians and with the Polish. The Dutch are out in front. Can they turn the screw now?
The men's quadruple sculls, Tom Barras at bow, Callum Dixon and Matt Hayward, the Olympic debutantes. Graham Thomas the stroke, his Olympic experience up to now in his career. Unlucky, but is he about to become an Olympic medalist? 380 metres to go. The Dutch lead by a boat length. It looks like they're going to be good for gold. Poland are now in second. Italy in third. Half a boat back to Great Britain. What do they do now, Jess? How do they dig in with 300 to go?
They have to move their hands. They have to keep calm. But this is really it now. They've got to go. It's got to be up, up, up. All legs, all heart, because there's an Olympic medal there. They're in fourth.
Heroics in the diving, heroics in the triathlon. What have GB got on the water, on the lake? The Great Britain boat, 9 boats in total go for medals in this regatta. This is the first final of the rowing. The men's quadruple sculls, and the Dutch are storming clear. They have a 13-metre lead on the Poles and the Italians, who are boat to boat in second. Great Britain half a boat's length back. They've got to dig in with 100 to go.
This is all about the sprint. It's going to come down to these last couple of strokes. They look across. The Polish are there. The Italians are there. They're still in fourth as we battle towards this finish line.
40 metres to go. The Dutch are going to be Olympic champions once again. It looks like it's going to be fourth place, and heartbreak for Britain. The Netherlands win. Italy second, Poland third, and just half a boat back. Great Britain in fourth, and they put their heads in their hands, absolutely spent. Tom Barras, Callum Dixon, Matt Hayward and Graham Thomas couldn't have given any more. But it's fourth place for the men's quad sculls, and it's the Dutch again who are Olympic champions.
Oh, that is heartbreak for the boys. They were there or thereabouts. They were so close to standing on that podium, edged out by a really fancied Italian and Polish crews for those silver and bronze medals. The Dutch were always out of the picture, but great race from them.
Yeah, the Netherlands Olympic champions, silver for Italy, Poland the bronze, and Great Britain finishing fourth. What a race, not quite to be. The women 11:38, will they find themselves on the podium? That's 5 minutes away, Naga.
I actually apologise to our listeners this morning, because I don't know how they can take the excitement and the drama and the tension. 1 minute we are whooping because Alex Yee has got gold at the triathlon. We come to you guys and there are so many hopes and our hearts are broken. Obviously not as much as Team GB, but I'm just going to say, but that is the joy of the Olympics. Hey, we love it.
And it all comes down to the 2,000 metres, and then to think all of that training, all of those early mornings and all of those World Cups and European Championships, World Championships. You know, we've had repêchages, quarterfinals, semi-finals, heats throughout the first 4 days, but it's all building up to this. And in reality, when it comes to the GB crew as a whole, this quad sculls were probably 8th or so in the power rankings. Jess and I have been sort of writing down who we think is sort of most likely to get a gold medal, and then who perhaps would do well to make a final. And this men's quad were always probably just going for bronze with the likes of Italy and the likes of the Netherlands and Poland. But yeah, only half a boat length away on another day could have maybe just about nicked a medal, but not this time.
Do you know what? Stay there, Chris, Jess, Maz, Alison. I mean, it's all, I don't know how it feels if you kind of got a gold, if you kind of feel better. Alison, by the way, well done calling Alex Yee having some more stamina and picking up the pace.
Oh, I didn't know. It was head and heart, you know. I was thinking, he just rallied, you know. I think you compare it to maybe a marathon, you know, when people talk about hitting the wall in the marathon. And the marathon, you know, that takes 2.5 hours, or, you know, with the men, 2 hours 10, you see them go through dips. You rarely see that in a 10K, but we just saw that in a 10K with Alex Yee. He went through a torrid time in the first 10 minutes of that race, but he rallied, and that's what, you know, I cannot wait to hear his interview, because only he can tell us what he went through. And I think the beauty of triathlon is the ebbs and flows, and the fact that Hayden Wilde went through his torrid time of that race right at the end, right when he didn't need it, and unfortunately he had nothing to give when Alex Yee swept past him. But why, you know, that's why we love live sport.
And we can't underestimate that distance, sorry Maz, that distance between them when Hayden Wilde seemed to just put so much space between them. That's when we all were like, oh no, what's going on?
It was 12 seconds, the gap at one point, and Ali and I were looking at each other as they started the final lap, this final 2.5k lap, and we thought, he's going to run out of road here to to find a way back to make up those 12 seconds, but somehow he did. It was all heart, it was all determination, it was all grit from Alex Yee because he emptied the tank so much. We saw that right at the end. He slumped on the hoardings just by the finish line, and he sat there on the ground for about 5 minutes, couldn't speak, couldn't move. I think he couldn't believe what he'd done, and then he stood up, and then he raised his arms and fist punted and screamed at the crowd. I mean, what a performance. It is all bravery, heart, and just, I'm speechless. What a performance from Alex Yee.
And I think, you know, it's also worth saying, you know, he came in here as a 26-year-old, having taken the silver medal in Tokyo last time around. All the talk was very much he was one of the favourites, if not the favourite, with Hayden Wilde. And to deliver on that, but then also have the turbulent 48 hours that he has had to deal with. You know, these guys should have been racing yesterday morning. And all right, to us, we go, oh, what's the difference of a day? But, you know, you talked, Naga, about how meticulous Beth and her partner are in terms of analysing stats. You know, these guys train for the 30th of July, not the 31st of July. You know, they taper, they're training, they're all their habits are built up to that one day. And when that one day is disrupted and the sleep is disrupted, it is really tough. And only Alex will be able to share that with us. But it's
equally,
what a race.
it's the same for everyone.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think that's probably, I know that British Triathlon and the British Olympic Association have been working really hard, not just to keep the athletes away from media talking about the quality of the water in the Seine. You won't have heard many British athletes discuss that because they've been kept away from any sort of negativity around this race. And of course, yesterday, when it didn't go ahead, we didn't really see any comments from any of the Brits. They'll have been told, come on, let's, you know, it's the same for everyone, as you said. Yeah. No one gets an advantage here. It's how you turn that mental, I guess, focus into the positive and go, right, we go again.
Alison.
But he went again, and he went some.
I loved it. I'm so
just
pleased.
Very quickly.
No,
Matt,
I haven't. I can't. I'm so sorry, Maz. I have to go over because we've got the women's quadruple sculls final just about to begin. I will come back to you both though because I want to hear what Alex Yee has to say. Chris Jones and Jess Eddy are watching that.
Hi there, Naga. Yeah, we're about to get underway and we are off. China in lane 1, Ukraine in lane 2, the Netherlands in lane 3, Great Britain in lane 4, Germany in 5 and Switzerland in 6 if you're just joining us. Unbelievable at the triathlon. Alex Yee winning gold, but it was 4th place, another 4th place in the Olympics for GB rowing in the men's quadruple sculls. And Jess Eddy, this women's 4, surely it's now time for Britain to get on the podium after the disappointment of Tokyo, the disappointment of the men's quad just now. This women's quad, they are the Euro champs, they are the world champs, and they've got every chance and have gone out strong as well.
Here we go, GB. Our first real chance of standing on that podium, and the Brits have got out the blocks a little bit slower than the rest of the field, but they are the favourites. They're the world champions, the European champions. Let's go.
Lauren Henry is at bow, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw at stroke. Henry, Anderson and Brayshaw, all Olympic debutants. Scott was part of this crew that finished 7th in Tokyo. So many heartbreak stories from Tokyo. But there are 8 British boats remaining. The women's pair missing out on the final. The men's quadruple sculls finishing 4th. But what can the women's quad sculls do? Sculls with 2 oars, an oar in each hand, as opposed to a sweep. The Netherlands lead, Ukraine in 2nd, and Great Britain just hanging around about 3rd at the moment. How are they going so far, Jess?
Yeah, as expected, the Dutch have come here with a strong crew, the women's quadruple scull. They were odds-on favourites to win at the World Championships last year. The Brits stole that from them in a sprint finish, so we'd expect this as it plays out now. The Dutch have just got their bows ahead. Britain really strong around the 2nd or 3rd marker.
500 metres gone in the women's quadruple sculls on the lake to the east of Paris. The Dutch out in front, Ukraine in 2nd, Great Britain in 4th, China in lane 1, and then Switzerland and Germany making up the places. But when it comes to quad sculls, when it comes to this boat, Jess, are they where they need to be with 1,300 metres to go?
Yeah, this is how they've raced before. They've never gone out and led from the front, really, this crew, and they're going to have the confidence. They've beaten the Ukrainer, who are just sitting bow ball to bow ball with them right now for silver. The Brits have just literally got their bow ball in front for that silver medal, half a length down on the Netherlands.
1,200 metres to go in the women's quadruple sculls. One of the first medal races of this regatta. The men's quadruple sculls won by the imperious Dutch. Britain finishing fourth behind Italy and Poland, but this women's quadruple sculls of Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw, they're looking good for a medal. They're in second place at the moment, half a boat's length or so behind the Dutch. Ukraine in third. Can they make up this 6 metres or so needed to reel in the Dutch boat who are out in front with 1,000 metres to go in the final?
They're used to this position. They know this position. They're confident, and I think they're moving back now. They're staying in touch with the Netherlands, who are in first as we go through the halfway point, the 1,000 metres.
Looks like the Germans are beaten, the Swiss are beaten, the Chinese are beaten. Ukraine in third, Great Britain in second. And the Netherlands out in front, looking poised and calm and composed, but a little peek to the right from one of the Dutch rowers to that GB crew. It's going to come down to a shootout here between the Dutch and the Great British boat.
Well, if you are the Dutch, you know you've been beaten by this British crew time and time again. There's going to be a few chinks in their armour. Can the Brits push their bows through now, sitting at the moment half a length down still?
All comes down to this. All those regattas, those World Cups, those European Championships, those World Championships. It comes down to these final 700 metres. In the Olympic final, the women's quadruple sculls in second behind the Dutch with a lead of about half a boat's length, maybe 4 or 5 metres, but all the time Great Britain are reeling it closer and closer.
They're moving. Great Britain are moving. A little call there. Hannah Scott in the 2-seat, the only remaining Olympian from Tokyo. She came 7th 3 years ago. She wants that gold medal, and Great Britain are well in there.
Henry, Anderson, Brayshaw, all on Olympic debut. They've moved clear now of Ukraine in third. It is going to be a shootout between these two boats. The Netherlands still lead, and the British boat in second, but they're slightly running out of time with only 500 metres to go.
They've got about a minute and a half to make the difference here. We've seen it before. The Brits have sprinted before. Heads up, GB. What have you got?
500 metres to go in the quadruple sculls final. Netherlands lead. They cross the 1,500 metre mark out in front, and there's clear water now. Great Britain are going to get at least a silver medal here. Ukraine in third. Germany, Switzerland and China in the places. Listen to the noise around the lake as the Dutch, who already have gold in the men's quad sculls, looking to add gold in the women's quad sculls. Composure and poise on the faces of Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson, Georgie Brayshaw, but they've got to dig really deep now with 350 metres to go. They still can't quite reel the Dutch in.
Let's use that power now, GB. Georgie Brayshaw, Lola Anderson. Let's see those watts going down. They've got to take it up now if they want to stamp their place in the history books. GB have never won this event. We are moving. We have about a third of a length to the Netherlands.
They're European champions, the British team. They're world champions, but this is the one they really want. This is the one everyone wants. With 220 metres to go, it is still the Dutch who just haven't relented. They haven't let the British crew in with a few 100 metres to go now, under 200 metres to go in the final.
They've got to drop the hammer here. They've still got leg left. There's 150 metres and their bows are just sticking at half a length on this Dutch crew.
Listen to the noise. It's at least the silver for Britain, but this Dutch team have been fantastic from the off, and they still have a 4-metre lead, and I think the Dutch are going to do it. Unless Britain have something really special in the final 50, it's going to be close. Up to the line they come now. Have Britain got one last push? They're getting closer and closer and closer with 10 metres to go, with 5 metres to go. I think they've done it. It's a photo for gold. A photo finish between Britain and the Dutch. Right at the end, Britain came. With 50 metres to go, they look beaten. But with a metre or two left, they may have just edged the Dutch to win an extraordinary gold, and I think they've done it. Celebrations from the women's quad. Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw. They have won Olympic gold in the close closest the finish is.
You could not make that up. 100 metres, they were losing. They were in silver. They didn't give up. They've wanted to win this race. And we've seen that time and time again with this crew. I said it halfway. They don't mind being down, and that is unbelievable. The first ever gold in the women's quadruple scull for Great Britain. You've done it.
It's bronze for Germany. It's silver for the touch. It is gold for Great Britain. Gold in the triathlon. Gold in the women's quad sculls. What in half an hour, Naga?
Screaming, jumping, couldn't believe how they've kept us on tenterhooks. I said, didn't I? Didn't I say that I had to apologise to our listeners a little earlier for all the excitement? That was unbelievable. Oh my gosh, Jess, I was keeping an eye on kind of the stroke rate. So Team GB was at 37 and then increased to 38, but they stayed steady at 37 throughout. I mean, who knows what they were like in that last 50.
Yeah,
but the Netherlands were 39, so they always were doing more strokes per minute, and they went up to 40. So I just don't know where you find the push at the end.
That's our training programme, that's the power, that's the belief they had. The Brits did this to the Dutch a year ago at the World Championships, so they knew they could do it. And I tell you what, going into the last 100 metres of an Olympic rowing final, being down, it takes some guts.
Let's put some context, Naga, on how close that was. How long's the boat? How long's the boat?
It's about 20 metres.
About 20 metres, so we're talking...
So a fifth.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking inches here. The last possible push before the line, and GB have done it. A brilliant race and a brilliant performance from Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw. They are Olympic champions.
Amazing. No, what I was saying was a fifth. There was like a fifth of the boat between them, boat length between them, right up until that last, 50, 60 metres?
It looked like there was no time left, didn't it?
Didn't it?
It looked like they just had left it too late. Or you could say the Dutch had been too good. And honestly, it was about with 10 metres to go that you thought they've got a chance here, and they've done it.
Do you know, the Dutch must be gutted. Just gutted.
But,
they looked so cool, didn't they?
They did look cool.
Really,
and maybe
like, in control.
That's their problem. It doesn't matter how far you're down. The only stroke you need to win a rowing race by is on the last stroke. And the Brits were the fastest from A to B.
You can see the emotions there, can't you? You can also see the chest, the lungs absolutely heaving.
It's unbelievable. It's kind of, it's crazy to think they could go out there and have that belief still in the dying stage of that race, but they had it and they knew it. They've been training for this, they've practiced this, they've been in that position before, and they stuck to their guns and they executed it to perfection.
Yeah, we're just seeing them get out their boat now. Georgie Brayshaw, Lola Anderson, Hannah Scott, Lauren Henry. They kind of had this look on their face of bewilderment, ecstasy. They were perplexed, all these different kind of emotions just going through them. And now they are waving to the crowd. They'll have family, they'll have friends, they will have people who have followed them to regattas over the last Olympiad, where there would be a few hundred people. And now with thousands watching, listening, hundreds of thousands, if not millions around the world, they've produced it when it matters the most.
Do you know what? I love this. Have you told this story already? If you have, I apologise, about Lola Anderson when she was 14 and her writing being inspired by London 2012.
I've not heard it, but I'm not surprised. A lot of these rowers have come through the system and
Let me tell you it. So Lola was 14 at London 2012. She wrote down her desire to win an Olympic medal in her diary, right? And she read it back, thought it sounded ridiculous, so she ripped it out and threw it away. Her father, Don, returned the note, telling her to follow her dream, passed away not long after that moment, and she's dedicated her career to his memory.
That's incredible stuff. I mean, Lola has been one of those athletes that's come through the system, rowed at Surbiton High School, has gone to Newcastle University programme, and she's been really strong throughout her career. So to see her here now in the middle of this podium, everyone's got a story, haven't they? It's incredible to see. I think half of Ban Rowing Club from Coleraine are out to watch Hannah Scott. I've been told they're taking up half the stands. So the support and the stories just make, what makes the games, and we love it.
Yeah, there's so many stories everywhere you look across this whole crew, across every crew from every nation, Naga, aren't there? But Georgie Brayshaw, what a story she has as well.
Accident.
Yeah, the horse riding accident she had 15 years ago.
Paralysed the left side of her body.
I mean,
for a year.
We talk a lot about fortitude, don't we, about resilience with these Olympians, and it's in a micro and a macro capacity. On a micro level, we saw with that final stroke, but on a macro level, all they put in over the course of their careers just to get to that point. And when you cover a sport at the Olympics, you're really struck the brutal reality of it, how it all comes down to one race, doesn't it? All of those decades, all of those years, all that preparation comes down to whether you can deliver, whether you can execute. 3 years ago in Tokyo, it was the story of finishing fourth, 6 fourth-place finishes for Team GB. And after the men's quad sculls finished fourth earlier, you did wonder, is it going to be another one of those games of what might have been? But for the first time now in 2 Olympic cycles, there's a gold, there's an Olympic champion crew, and that's the women's quadruple sculls.
Jess, I do feel sorry for the Netherlands, but I don't, because I'm really pleased that Team GB won. But the mentality is, because you won silver at the Women's 8 2016. You win together and you lose together, don't you?
Yeah, you absolutely do. It's a team sport. You have gone through the training together. You can't even begin to explain how many hours these athletes have put in. They train 3 times a day. They probably get every third Sunday off. They live in each other's pockets. So it is a team. You're moving at exactly the same pace. We watched the synchronised diving earlier. In rowing, you have to be that synchronised. You have to be really in time with each other and the boat underneath you. So,
and you can't have a bad day.
You can't have a bad day.
It shows, doesn't it? If you're 1 of 8 or 1 of 4, you're also in tune that you know if someone's off.
Absolutely. Rowing's about rhythm, it's about power. You have to be completely flat out physiologically. But yeah, that kind of flow, that rhythm is also really important. And that crew there, I can't stress enough how cohesive they had to be through the middle of that race, and how on the same page they had to be able to execute the finish the way they did.
Do you think they panicked? Because I know that they wanted to end the way they did, but it was so close. You wonder, with 500 to go, whether they did look at the Dutch and think, these guys are looking pretty solid. So for them to just execute at the end, it couldn't have been closer.
I think any mere mortal might have been, looked around and gone, Will, this is a good silver medal. What a great race. They've always wanted gold. I've been saying it for a few years with this crew. They roll with this kind of looseness and naivety and hunger to win and stand in the middle of the podium.
That's a really good point, isn't it, Naga? We'll see quite a few competitors over the course of this Olympics for whom a bronze is enormous, a silver is enormous, maybe because of them overachieving, exceeding expectations, coming up against someone nigh on unbeatable. But yeah, you do have a few competitors like this women's quad sculls, as Jess Eddy is saying there, who it was gold and only gold would have done, and they rode that final 10-15 metres like they needed gold and nothing else would suffice.
Second time I've been jumping up and down my seat, and thank goodness my mic was down, because there were shrieks, to say the least. Okay, for the moment, Chris Jones, Jess Eddy, thank you so much. So, Team GB, women's quadruple sculls, yes, gold. Okay, let's go back to Maz Faruqi and Alison Kirbishley, because I'm going to do it again. Yes, gold, Maz.
Well, yes, but right now we're celebrating bronze success for Beth Potter. It's perhaps easy, isn't it, to forget in all the excitement of that dramatic finish for Alex Yee. What a bronze medal, and what a performance from Beth Potter this morning as well, in conditions that arguably were more difficult for the women than for the men, because it was very, very damp out there and slippery on the cobbled course for the bike and for the run as well. And she has a big smile on her face, Beth Potter, as she is just receiving her bronze medal now. But of course there are going to be huge cheers, because they are going to hear this home crowd, the national anthem of France, shortly after Julie Derren of Switzerland receives her silver medal. And this is a bit of a surprise, we saw, Ali Kirbishley.
Yeah, and I think, she's still in shock, as we all are. I think the men certainly went to form, but the women's, Julie Derren just found something. And look, that's what makes the Olympics so special. You just find that when she's woken up this morning, she must have felt good. She had a great swim, she had a wonderful bike, but then led out the run. And leading out the run with the pressure of Cassandra Beaugrand and Beth Potter and Flora Duffy and a lot of these really, really well-conditioned, well-delivered athletes that are used to the podium. Derren isn't, and to come here and do what she's done, phenomenal. But I mean, you would not stand aside. I mean, this lady, Cassandra Beaugrand, has just been introduced as the Olympic champion in our home nation. Is there a better podium here in Paris than this one right now?
So picturesque on the Pont Alexandre III bridge, where this triathlon sort of started, where the transition phase was. It was a beautiful scenic route through the streets of Paris. And Cassandra Beaugrand, what a performance from her. And she is the Olympic champion in the women's triathlon. The biggest cheers reserved for the gold medalist.
Now, because she grew up just 10 miles from Paris, she's practically Parisian, so she's at the heart of this crowd of many who are there.
She is, and very much a proud French woman, based in the UK actually.
Scenes from Cassandra Beaugrand, the Olympic champion in the women's triathlon. It was such an incredible performance from her. She stands on top of the podium at her home Olympic Games, and we were talking, weren't we, and Naga mentioned it there, Ali, the fact that she grew up not far from this course. Everything was really sort of focused on her, the fact that it was somewhere that she would know so well, the fact that it's a home Olympic Games, the fact that she came into this event in such good form. The pressure was really on and she performed.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that's what makes the Olympics so special. It comes around once every 4 years. Yes, we had COVID, so the last 3 years since Tokyo, but as an athlete, you can't control that. You've got to be ready no matter what age you are. The Olympics will be happening, and it has just... The stars have aligned for Cassandra. You know, it's been 10 years since we knew it was coming to Paris. She's been in the sport that long. And to be able to set your target and to be able to time it so right. You know, Beth Potter 2023, she's now taking a selfie. I love this world we now live in.
She's been handed a little sort of little camera by the officials around them to take a little selfie of the three of them on the top of the podium, which
with
she
the
has
Eiffel
done.
Tower in the background.
What a picture, which they will all savour. And of course, we still have Alex Yee and his brilliant performance. That to come, his medal ceremony shortly, Naga.
Do you know what? I was watching Cassandra at the top of the podium as the Marseillaise was being played, and she did that thing. I don't know if you guys do it. I'm sure everyone does. You know, when you're trying to stop yourself from crying, and you take really deep breaths, and you just try to just focus on controlling your breathing. And I kind of really empathise with her there, because she is so proud. I mean, of course, Beth Potter's done brilliantly, but you've got to have respect for the winner, haven't you, the gold medalist? And it obviously means so much to her. And just hearing that crowd, and it's a lovely day there, it seems a lovely day there. And so the crowds are there all singing along, kind of cheering along. They're human. I know they seem superhuman. They seem like a world away, but this matters, and I could really kind of connect at that moment.
Yeah, and I think for somebody like Beth Potter, you know, she came into this world as a runner. You know, she was in Rio as an athlete in the 10,000 metres, finishing 34th, and then changed sports and went to triathlon. And that's a big move, you know, when you're at the early part of your career, at the age of 23, where, you know, you've set your sights on, you know, she came into the world with the likes of Eilish McColgan and was trying to emulate Paula Radcliffe, and probably thought marathon was ahead of her. And to be able to move into a sport, and it's taken her a long time. She was a swimmer when she was very young, growing up in Scotland, and obviously became a very good athlete, but she had to master that cycling element to triathlon, and it's taken a number of years. She works now with Jack Maitland, who guided the Brownlees to so many amazing feats, particularly Olympic level, and changed the way that we view triathlon now. If we see somebody in a British vest lining up in a triathlon, we expect them to win because of the Brownlees. And I think, you know, she relocated herself to Leeds and has done for the last so many years. And I think probably this would be her last real attempt at a medal, because another 4 years to LA, although I'm sure she will not be retiring, it's cutthroat at this level. And to get onto the British team, it was tough. She was very much selected well ahead of everybody else. But it's hard to get onto the British team.
Well, they've just done brilliantly. Just brilliant. It's been, what, 2 hours have we had? Maz, Alison, thanks so much for the moment. Okay, I can't even bring my head around it. So what? Beth Potter there in the triathlon who got bronze. The women's quadruple sculls final, that was a nail-biter. They got gold. We'll have much more after the news with Beth Ann Holmes.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
The former BBC presenter Hugh Edwards has pleaded guilty to 3 charges of making indecent images of children. He appeared before magistrates this morning and admitted receiving 41 images on WhatsApp, including 7 of the most serious type. He's been released on conditional bail and will appear for sentencing in September. Residents of Southport are cleaning up outside a mosque where rioters caused disorder last night. The unrest began shortly after a separate peaceful vigil held to mourn the death of 3 children killed in a knife attack at a dance class on Monday. 37 police officers were injured by the rioters who threw bricks and bottles. Merseyside police believe the disorder involved England Defence League supporters. MP for the town is Patrick Hurley.
These were thugs who'd got the training. These were not people from Southport. They were using the deaths of 3 little kiddies for their own political purposes and to attack the very same first responders and the very same police who had been on the scene on Monday. There's no way to describe that other than to say it's utterly reprehensible.
The political leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, has been killed in Iran. The Iranian supreme leader says the country has a duty to avenge the airstrike because it happened in Tehran. Hamas and Iran hold Israel responsible. The country hasn't commented. Our Gaza correspondent is Rushdi Abu Alouf.
It's a significant killing and it's paving, I think, the way for more hardline figures within Hamas, such as Yahya Sinwar, who we widely believe that he was the mastermind of the 7th of October. So Hamas is losing a more moderate leader, and the way is open to more hardline people, I think, in Hamas.
Now away from the news and over to Paris. Team GB have won gold in 2 events in the past hour. The women's quadruple sculls took their first ever gold in the event. In the men's triathlon, after a sensational sprint finish, Alex Yee crossed the line in first place. GB now has 6 gold medals this Games. Britain's Beth Potter took bronze in the women's triathlon earlier, and Lois Tolson and Andrea Spendolini-Syriacs won bronze in the women's 10-metre synchro diving.
The Olympics, Paris 2024.
We will be, as we say in the business, flip-flopping. You will not miss a medal and you will not miss a victory here.
And here he comes, Duncan Scott, to retain the title for Great Britain. It's glorious gold.
Down the centre, defensive return, smash from Evans, Britain win!
I literally cannot believe what we've seen. The drama, the roller coaster ride that we've just been taken on.
It's the Olympic Games, it's what it's all about, it's what 5 Live's about.
The Olympics, Paris 2024.
Every Team GB medal live
On 5 Live
and BBC Sounds.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Naga Munchetty.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Hello and welcome to day 5 of the Olympic Games. Brace yourselves. The medals have been coming thick and fast for Team GB this morning, with gold in the rowing.
Celebrations from the women's squad. Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw. They have won Olympic gold in the closest of finishes.
And it doesn't stop there. No. There was gold in the men's triathlon.
I thought he had nothing left, but Alex Yee fist pumps as he comes up towards the finish line. Alex Yee of Great Britain is the Olympic champion.
Beth Potter won bronze in the women's race, and then to the diving there was another bronze for Andrea Spendolini-Syriacs and Lois Tolson in the synchronised 10-metre platform.
Doing it alongside Lois, it's been a crazy 2 years. I give glory to God, and I've grown so much as a person alongside her, not just an athlete. So I'm so happy.
The emotions, honestly, the emotions. We are going to bring you every Team GB medal live here on 5 Live. You can also follow events on the BBC Sport website and app, or watch on BBC One and the iPlayer.
The The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Naga Munchetty.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Golden half hour for Team GB in Paris. Let's go to Chris Jones, where Team GB, there are medals being awarded. Put round necks as we speak.
As we speak, yeah. The German crew just getting their bronze medal from the Chief of World Rowing, Mr. Vincent Gaillard, shaking hands with them. And then shortly, it'll be the women's quad sculls team of Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw. And Jess Eddy, who's alongside me. What are these moments like? You've been there on that podium as a silver medalist in Rio 2016. It's going to be the greatest moment of their lives so far for them, isn't it?
It's what you dream of. I think it's what you think about when you're taking those strokes on the lake, on the row machine, when you're lifting those weights. But nothing can prepare you for actually being there. And I think, you know, that thing, you don't know what it feels like to jump out of a plane until you jump out of a plane. You don't know what it's like to stand on that podium. And no women's quad from Great Britain's ever won this event, so they're doing this for the first time ever.
And that's good to see. Smiles on the faces of the Dutch, because when you are beaten, if anyone's just joining us, this finish had to be seen and heard to be believed. Great Britain winning on the line in a photo finish by 0.15 of a second. And when you're beaten like that into silver, it must feel like a defeat, even though it's a silver medal at the Olympics. It's an unbelievable achievement, and the fact that they're arm in arm and they've got smiles on their faces shows that they're seeing it for what it is, which is still a silver medal at the Olympic Games.
Look, the Dutch had to do what they did. The Dutch had to go out and take their chances and put themselves in the front of that race. That was the only way they were going to beat the favourites, Great Britain, was to put them under pressure. But it shows that pressure makes diamonds, doesn't it? They really held on to the race, Great Britain, and didn't give up, had that belief until the last stroke.
When did they start to lead? When are we talking? Half a metre out?
I think they only got it on the surge. I think they literally had the last stroke, I would say 2 strokes before the finish line, the Dutch were still ahead. Yeah,
and the Dutch, as we were touching upon there, still smiling, kind of a combination of happy tears and probably quite emotional and overwhelming feeling when you're beaten so closely like that, and you for 1999 metres were looking odds on for Olympic gold, but now it is their moment. Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw. Look at those smiles. Georgie Brayshaw at stroke, who recovered from that serious horse riding accident and didn't even start rowing until she was 22. Lola Anderson, who was inspired by London 2012 and as a 14-year-old girl wrote down her desire to win an Olympic medal, and now she's there on that podium as an Olympic champion, as the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, puts the medal around each of their necks.
This is going to be pretty special, doesn't it, having royalty handing you your gold medal. These rowers here are now rowing royalty, so they're going to be joining the ranks of Steve Redgrave, of Catherine Granger, of Sir Matt Pinsent. They're up there.
And you can't help feeling happy when you look at their faces, can you?
There's a mixture of tears, of disbelief. You've got to remember, they're going to be shattered. They've just raced the race of their lives. They're going to be absolutely knackered, but right now, pure adrenaline and joy.
The widest smiles imaginable on the faces of Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw, who are the Olympic champions. They've won gold in the women's quad sculls, the first British boat to win that event. And as the Germans, the bronze medalists and the Dutch in silver look on, it'll be time for God Save the King, the Great Britain anthem for these four, Lauren Henry, Hannah Scott, Lola Anderson and Georgie Brayshaw, to enjoy, to soak up and to revel in. Well, what a moment for these four, and what a moment for Alex Yee as well in the triathlon, Maz.
It's Alex Yee waiting to receive his gold medal. Leo Bichère of France has just received his bronze for finishing third in the men's triathlon. Now Hayden Wilde steps up to receive his silver medal. For so long he was leading this 10k run at the end of this final today, and then in the final stages, the most unlikely of comebacks from Alex Yee, who is just about to savour the applause as he is about to receive his gold medal. It was silver for him, of course, 3 years ago in Tokyo. But let's just have a listen in a moment as Alex Yee is applauded here as he is about to receive his gold medal as the triathlon Olympic champion in Paris 2024. Yeah, what a turnaround for Alex Yee. He was on the ropes, he was down and out. We thought he was in danger of falling out of the medals entirely at one point, and from nowhere he found something, that spirit, that fight, that determination, that Olympic spirit to find a way to win. That gold medal is around his neck as he raises his arm to the crowd, now lifts that up as well. That lovely smile of Alex Yee. I wonder if we'll see him on top of the podium again with the mixed relay team on Monday. Britain with a great chance in that, as we are about to pause here as well and listen to God Save the King.
Mesdames et messieurs, si vous le pouvez, veuillez vous lever pour l'hymne de la Grande-Bretagne.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can, please stand for the anthem of Great Britain.
After sensationally winning the men's triathlon, receiving gold, singing the words of the national anthem whilst atop the podium, now holding his medal with pride for the obligatory photos. Oh, wow, Maz, Chris, Jess, Alison, it's been a whirlwind of a morning.
I think we all.
Special.
I was just going to say that, Chris. I was saying, like, we were all sitting there listening last night, saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we get that?" It was literally a button change. I mean, watching the rowing here in the studio, it was
we were shrieking.
I said to Maz, the girls clearly found their inner Yee with that final push.
Who's the redhead? I'm sorry, was it Georgie?
Georgie Brayshaw.
Because I saw her when she was being presented her medal by the Princess Royal, Princess Anne. She said, "I can't believe it." She was standing there. She said to the Princess, "I can't believe it." And as much as we say it was all strategy, Jess, and that's what it all comes down to. I think they're a bit surprised.
Well, we just heard the interview between them and Matt Pinsent and Catherine Granger, and I think it was Hannah Scott saying they're so focused on the process, and you have to kind of take away the noise of the Olympics, take away the banners, have your blinkers on and be really focused on each stroke at a time. And the minute you cross that finish line, it's almost like the floodgates can open. So you've got to give yourself this time now to soak it up and allow yourself to enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's why I think we get it in all sports. It's really been a sea change in mentality. The sports that we will all cover day to day, talking about process, because we all think, it's all about outcome. But these athletes are so in the moment, because if they do look to the Dutch, if they do take their mind off the job in hand, then they don't execute that stroke perfectly and they don't get their boat that inch in front that's needed to win gold. So you can understand why they are so focused. But Naga, from a kind of overview of the rowing here, we've got to keep going back to Tokyo. Six fourth place finishes, only 2 medals. Given what GB rowing did, say, in London 2012, it was a disastrous games in terms of the medal haul. And then when the men's quad sculls finished 4th in agonising fashion behind the Italians and the Polish boat, you thought, is it going to be another one of those regattas where these boats come with lots of hopes and expectation and don't quite deliver? So Jess was just saying off air, and she's been there and done it, when you get a win like that, and if you won by 10 boat lengths in clear water, it's brilliant. but does it send that feel-good factor through the rest of the team, quite like that finish will have done for these other now 7 GB boats that are taking place in finals over the coming days, with genuine gold medal prospects everywhere you look on Thursday, Friday and Saturday? What will that performance do for the whole of the GB crew?
It's just stunning. Who do you think had the closer finish? Which commentary team wins?
Ours was 6 seconds in the end, so I definitely would give it to the rowers.
Yeah, I think we were 0.15. So, but given Alex, we had a monitor on in here as well, and at one point it looked like Alex Yee was well out of it, and then at one point it generally looked like GB couldn't do it, because you kept thinking they're going to come here, they're going to finish strong, and they're going to have enough, because we've seen it at the World Champs, the Euro Champs. We know how good this GB quad sculls is, but even with 10 metres to go, it looked in doubt, Jess. So both Alex Yee and these women's quad sculls have produced something kind of out of nowhere in just incredible fashion.
I still believed. They had 100 metres, I think I called it, they had 100 metres left. I said they've still got time. They looked across, they were so powerful, the British quartet, and it's just crazy scenes, to be honest, looking at this, our first gold medal on the lake. First, I hope, of many.
Well, I think of the morning, Jess, Eddie and Alison Kirbishley, you both win the optimism.
Yeah, because
the optimism stone.
Both Matt and I were saying, it's too late.
Yeah. We've got to buy into what Alison and Jess have. Listen, guys, thank you so much. It's been a fantastic morning, I know. So Maz Faruqi, Alison Kirbishley, Chris Jones, Jess Eddy, all the team. It's been an incredible morning. There'll be more Olympics coverage from 1 o'clock. Mark Chapman will take over with all the team. And there's loads more going on, you know. So we've got cycling, about around 1:45, canoe slalom, gymnastics, more swimming as well. I don't know if it can get any more exciting in the pool. We've got boxing as well. There is so much going on. And we, here at 5 Live, intend to bring you every medal, every Team GB medal, of course, live. And you can keep listening here, of course, on BBC 5 Live and watching on BBC One and the iPlayer. It is 16 minutes past midday. I will step away from the Olympics for some time now and get our news heads on. What we've seen this morning is the former BBC News presenter, Hugh Edwards, pleading guilty to 3 counts of making indecent images of children. The 62-year-old admitted to having 41 indecent images of children which had been sent to him by another man on WhatsApp. They included 7 of the most serious category. Now, the Metropolitan Police said the allegations are separate from other claims that were widely reported and investigated last year. Our correspondent, Seema Katecha, has been watching events from outside Westminster Magistrates Court.
We had been told previously on the charge sheet that there were 37 images that he was accused of making, which he's pleaded guilty to, but they are actually 41 images, and 7 of those images are of a serious nature, so they fall into something called Category A, which is the most serious level of pictures, of content, should I say. So it's 41 images, 7 of which are at that serious level. So he stood up to confirm his name, his date of birth, his address. He spoke very quietly when he said the words guilty 3 times. But apart from that, that's all he said. There were some legal conversations going on between the prosecution and the defence. And we've just heard in the last couple of minutes that the judge is not going to sentence Mr. Edwards today. The judge has said it's appropriate to hear more about Edwards, his motivation, his risk of offending, and his health issues. The judge also said that his powers as a magistrate might not be sufficient enough to sentence Edwards.
Now, what we understand is that Hugh Edwards will be sentenced in September. That was Seema Katecha, our correspondent, summing up what had happened earlier today. Now, Dina Nocivelli is a lawyer and partner at Lee Day Solicitors and joins me now. Dino, hello.
Hey, Naga.
Extremely serious offences, broken down to 3 counts. In terms of the categories, we understand 7 of those images in the most serious category.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is a starter point. You know, obviously we're talking about Hugh Edwards, who's now pleaded guilty to these child abuse images and potentially videos we do need to remember they contain imagery and videos, we understand, of children who've suffered abuse of the most serious type, which is the category A, which Seema has just been mentioning.
The defence for Hugh Edwards has said that he received these images, he didn't save them, he didn't forward them. In terms of when it comes to sentencing and how that will be considered by the court, what can you tell us?
I think the first consideration is the number of images and the time period. If it was one image and you knew that this was a very young child or any child, most people would block that individual, say do not send any more images like this to me or videos to me. But it's the number and then the time period that is a factor, which is important, sadly, which needs to be brought into account. When we look at sentencing for child abuse images and videos, the most recent comment from the National Crime Agency in December says that 8 in 10 people do not receive prison sentences. It's a real concern which we've got because I specialise in representing abuse survivors. We know the allegations are not that Hugh Edwards has physically assaulted anyone. We know it relates to images and videos, but those videos images are of children suffering abuse. And I do think that we need to take this a lot more seriously in relation to sentencing. We will see what happens in September, but I think that Hugh Edwards does need to explain the time period of these images being sent to him. It wasn't 1, it was 41.
And I should just say, the judge, when he said he wasn't going to sentence Hugh Edwards today, he said it would be appropriate to hear more about him, his motivation and his risk of reoffending and health issues. So, I mean, obviously we understand now that sentencing will take place in September. Thank you very much, Dino, for bringing some light to that. That's Dino Nociavelli, who's a lawyer and partner at Lee Day Solicitors. 21 minutes past 12. There's that clear-up operation that's going on in Southport today. Rioters attacked a mosque. They smashed walls. They smashed garden walls because they wanted to use the bricks as missiles last night. At least 39 police officers were hurt, 27 taken to hospital. A police vehicle set on fire. Now, all of this happened just hours after a peaceful vigil was held for 3 girls who were killed in a knife attack on Monday. One shopkeeper told the BBC he lost £10,000 worth of stock when rioters looted his shop. This morning, local residents have been cleaning up the mess left behind after the violence. Tony's one of those.
What we've witnessed here this morning is extraordinary. What we've seen in Southport over the last 48, 3 days or so. We've seen the horror, which we don't want to talk about, and then we've seen a situation last night. We had the vigil where thousands of us got together in front of Lord Street to show heart, compassion and unity, community spirit. And then we had this incident last night, and it's up to the police to determine who caused it, what caused it, but the mosque, as you see, was attacked. Whole areas, people's cars were set alight, the damage is enormous. But the most essential thing is that the community came down here this morning, contractors came here from all over the place, landscapers, motorway contractors, and now where this horrible thing happened last night, it's been cleaned away because the community have done that. And that's the most important thing we need to get across, is that no matter what happens in Southport, as a community, we will pull together.
Now, Patrick Hurley is the MP, Labour MP for Southport. Patrick Hurley, good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Now, Southport, I am familiar with Southport, and it is, I would go as far to say, almost sleepy, lovely place, beautiful beach, a community absolutely shattered by what happened with the attacks. And then on top of that, once it tries to come together, hold a vigil, show solidarity, show compassion, show support for those families of those victims and all those who have been affected. This violence erupts. Your reaction to what's been going on?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me on this afternoon. You are right, describing Southport as sleepy. It is a Victorian seaside town. It's a very close-knit community, quite a small town, small community, and it's the sort of town where so many people across the area will have been impacted by the atrocity on Monday with the attack on the summer class and the children. Whether those children are people's own family or friends of family, everybody will know somebody that's been directly impacted there. And when the community came together for the vigil last night, we had literally thousands of people on the steps of the town hall and on Lord Street and fanning out across the town centre, just as a place to exist and to share and to hug each other, to lay flowers and wreaths and little teddy bears in memory of the little girls who died. And then within hours, we've got half a mile away nothing less than a riot, and it's a riot which has its origins in propaganda and lies and misinformation being spread on social media since Monday lunchtime, since the immediate aftermath of the incident on Monday. And overwhelmingly, it seems that the perpetrators of this riot had descended on Southport from outside the area. Your correspondent just mentioned about the local shop owner whose premises were looted. I was speaking to them this morning, and they explained to me that these were people who were organised. These were people who had come into town essentially with a change of clothes, where they could, they were hiding behind brick walls on street corners, getting changed to ready to riot. But then 10 minutes before the last train out of town, everybody dispersed, everybody dissipated, and effectively they all got the last train home. This is not Southport, this is not our community, and we will not stand for it. This is not welcome here.
I will say, listening to Nikki's programme this morning, there were people who were speaking from the area who said they did recognise that there was some, yes, absolutely, those thugs, basically, who were there, obviously a significant part of the violence, but there were witnesses who were saying that some other people from the local area had joined in, but it was led by these outsiders. What, again, angers people, and it's interesting. Jenny Stankham is the mum of a 7-year-old, Elsie, and you'll know this, in the Liverpool Echo, wrote, "This is the only thing that I will write, but please stop the violence in Southport tonight. The police have been nothing but heroic these last 24 hours, and they and we don't need this." The attacks on the police as well, particularly vitriolic.
Yes, the attacks last night, the riot we saw last night on the streets of Southport, it was most of all, it was disrespectful to the families who've experienced such unimaginable loss on Monday. We saw that there with the statement that you read out. Whatever happened last night is not in the name of the people who need the help most and need the compassion most here. Just take one instance. There were 2 police vans set on fire, and there were police being pelted with bricks and stones and rocks. These were the very same police officers and the very same people who were the first responders to the crime scene, the alleged crime scene on Monday lunchtime when the little girls were attacked. Now, to go on the one hand from probably the most traumatic day of their lives, these police officers having seen that on Monday, to almost within 24 hours being attacked on the streets of their hometown, because these aren't just police officers and emergency services. These are local residents as well. These are people who will have been personally affected. Their children will go to school with the children who were in the class. They will know these families themselves. And to then be pelted with bricks and stones and have your van set on fire by nothing more than nothing. These people are thugs who came into town purely to cause trouble. And we won't stand for it. And just the idea that they are doing this for any reason other than to cause division and spread prejudice and spread fear, it's for the birds. That's precisely what they're doing, and that's the only reason they're doing it.
And of course, Jenny Stancombe, I said, was mum of 7-year-old Elsie. There was Elsie.Stancombe, Alice De Silva Aguiar, who was 9, and 6-year-old BB King. Those are the 3 girls who have been named by Merseyside police, having been killed in that knife attack. Quick word, if you wouldn't mind, on how you repair the community.
The community organisations and the faith leaders, the church leaders especially, have been amazing, stepping up to the plate and bringing people together. We need to see more of that. There's going to be I'm meeting with Merseyside Police and with other organisations and non-profit organisations and food banks and community bodies later this afternoon to see what we can do to put a united front back out there. We were remarkably successful in that with the vigil, which thousands of people turned out to last night at 6:00, and we need to repeat that over and over again until the people from outside get the message that what they're trying to do to our community won't wash and it won't stick.
Patrick Hurley, MP for Southport, thank you very much for your time. Councillor Mike Salmon joins me now. Councillor Salmon, hello, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very sad, actually. And that's nothing compared to what I imagine the people in the community of Southport are feeling. But I think, like other people in the country, heartbroken that these families are going through this, heartbroken that this has happened. And I think it's heartbreaking when you see violence like this because, as Jenny Stancombe said, we just don't need this. Those families don't need it. You witnessed some of the violence outside your home last night. What exactly were you seeing?
Yes, so it was absolutely terrifying, and I'd like to start by saying I agree with what Patrick said before me, that this is the awful scenes from last night is not what Southport is about. What Southport is about is what we have seen today, with the community coming together, rebuilding, and everybody helping each other. I heard I think the police eventually dispersed around 1:30, and I think the council were here at 3 a.m. and then I heard neighbours coming up at 6 a.m. and they're still there now. And I've just went to speak to the mosque just to offer them some support, and the people from the mosque were walking down the street giving us bottles of water, and it just that is what Southport is about. And the scenes last night is absolutely terrifying. And it was incredibly disrespectful to the victims' families, who are in our hearts and minds and always will be. Southport, we are not about division, fear, or hatred. These people, I believe, is not coming from Southport, and they came organised to disrupt, and they will not win, and this will. They will, whatever they try, we will show that in Southport. We will come back stronger, and we will only be more united.
Councillor Mike Salmon, thank you. I think it's a message that will be echoed throughout those in Southport. Thank you very much for joining me. The time now is 12:32. We will get an update now of the news. Beth Ann Holmes has that. Hi, Beth Ann.
Afternoon, Naga. The former BBC presenter Hugh Edwards has pleaded guilty to 3 charges of making indecent images of children. Before magistrates, he admitted receiving 41 images on WhatsApp, including 7 of the most serious type. He's been released on conditional bail and will be sentenced later this year. A clean-up operation is taking place in Southport outside a mosque where rioters caused violence last night. The unrest began shortly after a separate peaceful vigil held to mourn the death of 3 young children killed in a knife attack at a dance class on Monday. Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei says the country has a duty to avenge the killing of the political leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, because it happened in the country's capital. Hamas says Israel is responsible for the attack. Israel hasn't made a comment. And in Paris, 2 more golds for Team GB, one in the women's quadruple sculls for the first time, the other in the men's triathlon by Alex Yee. In the women's event, Beth Potter took bronze, and in the women's 10-metre synchro diving, Lois Tolson and Andrea Spendolini-Syriacs also claimed bronze.
The Olympics, Paris 2024.
We will be, as we say in the business, flip-flopping. You will not miss a medal and you will not miss a victory here.
And here he comes Britain. It's glorious gold.
Down the centre, defensive return, smash from Evans, Britain win!
I literally cannot believe what we've seen. The drama, the roller coaster ride that we've just been taken on.
It's the Olympic Games, it's what it's all about, it's what Five Live's about.
The Olympics, Paris 2024.
Every Team GB medal live
On 5 Live
and BBC Sounds.
The Olympic Games, Paris 2024.
With Naga Munchetty.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Time now is 12:34. It's been quite a morning for Team GB at the Olympics. 2 gold, 2 bronze medals in Paris, and the boxing's underway as well. We're going to bring you now, that's on now. I don't know how boxing will bring us a breather at all, but it feels like it in some ways after the excitement of the triathlon and the diving and the rowing, rowing, yes. So we will get back to that before the end of this hour. And of course, Mark Chapman takes over with the team all around Paris and in France and various places as there's more action this afternoon and well into the evening. I don't know how you will cope. But a bit more news. I want to have a discussion about news that you would have seen if you have, the news apps on your phones or your laptops or your tablets. And you will know that Hamas has said that its political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, has been killed in Iran. Now, a statement from the Palestinian militant group said he died in an Israeli airstrike on a house in the Iranian capital, Tehran. Israel hasn't commented on the claims. A Hamas official has described the, quote, assassination as a grave escalation that will not go unpunished. And all of this comes as another militant group, Hezbollah, says one of its most senior military commanders was in a building in Beirut, which was targeted by Israel on Tuesday evening. Now, the US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told reporters he was concerned. He's insisted, though, a wider war in the Middle East, and that is the implication of all of this, how this escalates. He says, this US Defense Secretary says it's not inevitable.
If Israel is attacked, we certainly will help defend Israel. You saw us do that in April. You can expect to see us do that again. But we don't want to see any of that happen. We're going to work hard to make sure that we're doing things to help take the temperature down and address issues through diplomatic means.
Now, you may remember if you were listening on Monday, I spoke to John Linden, who's from the Alliance for Middle East Peace. And I'm pleased to say John is back with me again. Hi, John.
Hi, Naga. Good to be with you.
Yeah, I really wanted to speak to you today when this news was emerging because we spent some time on Monday, didn't we, kind of establishing where the flashpoints are, where the tensions are on the fronts that Israel is tackling at this moment in time. And also we spoke about who's supporting Israel internationally and and I remember asking you that question, where do the rest of the world, where do they lie in terms of their loyalties? And actually your answer was they just don't want this to escalate. The common theme is this cannot escalate. And Lloyd Austin is saying it won't, but I just wonder, and maybe you calm my fears down, I just wonder if this is running away from that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely escalatory. There's no two ways about it. It doesn't really matter what your sort of allegiances or biases, acknowledged or unacknowledged. Assassinating the head of Hamas in the capital of Iran on the eve of the inauguration of a new Iranian president is a clear escalation. Putting the rights or wrongs of it as a strategic decision aside, there is this escalatory ladder that military analysts obsess over, and Israel has historically been seen as an actor that's able to manage it with quite a lot of brinkmanship in ways that some military analysts really admire. So I hope there is some calculation here that we're not seeing, because the worry is, and it just shows you we need to be humble about making predictions. I had gone to bed seeing the other assassination in Beirut of a senior Hezbollah commander, and wondering or hoping that step, if that was it, that we were seeing in retaliation to the rocket attack that we spoke about on Monday on the Golan Heights, if that was it, that maybe that would be enough for the sort of de-escalation to then go into place and sort of Israel to feel that deterrence had been restored. This step now, I think, when you think about how Iran responded to the assassination of a revolutionary IRGC commander in Damascus all the way back in the spring. They fired 300 projectiles directly at Israel in the first ever direct attack from Iran.
Yeah, and even though very few kind of got through, it was a very definite signal, wasn't it? And it was expected.
Exactly. And there was choreography around it. Secretary Austin there alluded to it in the clip. And I think, again, there's this horrible, macabre kind of calculations around this. Well, okay, and this now will demand some sort of a response. Again, in these kind of grim calculations. And the worry, again, is that every day we repeat this dynamic, we have to be lucky that there isn't miscalculation, that there isn't an overreaction from one party or the other. And the longer this dynamic continues, the more we are guaranteed to have a regional war.
You know, just going back to that spring retaliation, that was all about saving face as well, wasn't it? And that was even though the missile attacks happened, the impact of them, the tangible physical impact of them was always going to be minimal because of the coordination, as you say. This time, we've got Iran's Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei, saying the country has, and I quote, a duty to avenge the airstrike. That language feels more, and correct me again if I'm wrong, extreme than in the spring.
Yeah, I think so. I think every step demands a retaliation, right? These are two entities, two countries, Israel and Iran, who are locked into what they increasingly perceive to be a zero-sum dynamic. So neither one wants to leave an aggression unanswered. And it means then, again, it's a fairly simple premise that they want to feel as if the response is commensurate or an escalation on what they've received. And you don't have to be a genius to understand where that logic leads. Eventually, it leads to all-out war. And that's why, the question that you posed on Monday, which is the key question, is around how we get towards a de-escalation right now. That needs to be the preoccupation of everybody. It's in nobody's interest. Israel, Iran, the Palestinians, Lebanon, the wider region, us in Europe and the United States, the wider world. A full regional war in the Middle East will be a catastrophe for everybody. And so the organizing principle for what we do or don't do now, what we advocate to our friends, needs to be arranged around how we avoid that regional war.
And then you think about what Israel has been saying since October the 7th, that it will destroy. Its intention is to destroy Hamas, right? So its political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, who I'll get you to tell me more about, that's the target. The political leader, it says it was all out to do it, but killed on Iranian soil.
Yeah, and again, it's a new precedent. Like, to take out the leader of Hamas, that has happened before. So the founding leader of Hamas was assassinated 20 years ago by Israel in an operation in Gaza. But for this to happen in Iran, obviously that has an added dimension because of the sheer danger of an outright confrontation between Iran and Israel. But then also, we have this track record of leaders of Hamas being assassinated and Hamas still existing, right? So it isn't a solution to the underlying problems from either a Palestinian or an Israeli perspective. And one of the things that's a little sort of worrying today is there's a general strike in the West Bank, and speaking to colleagues and friends of mine in Palestinian civil society, there is an automatic reaction of solidarity with their support for Hamas that comes about from people who actually don't have very much sympathy for Hamas, but simply feel, again, in that zero-sum dynamic, a sense of anger over this step, and it drives people into these sort of binaries.
Taking
and
sides,
even
yeah.
Exactly. And then for my Israeli friends, many of them, there's a visceral sort of satisfaction, I guess, from many people to see, the leader of Hamas, which is the entity that was responsible for the horrors of October 7th, being assassinated. But then they all understand that beyond that kind of visceral emotional reaction, the world they live in has gotten much scarier today as a result. There's 60,000 people still evacuated from the north of Israel that can't return to their homes due to the situation on the Lebanese border. The hope of them returning has been pushed further into the future, I think. And then for the hostages in Gaza, nearly at 300 days of captivity now. Haniyeh was probably the most important person with regards to the brokering of those talks taking place in Rome this week. And it's hard to imagine how those talks are more successful, are more likely to be successful now as a result of this. And I spoke to an Israeli friend this morning, and that was his immediate reaction. Does this mean hostages aren't going to be returned as a result of this? And does that mean this was a good idea? And that's from a purely patriotic, pro-Israeli perspective. And timing in this world is everything. This round of talks...
Who's around the table in Rome?
Up until today, at least, we had very senior security and intelligence figures and political figures from Qatar, Egypt, the director of an Israeli intelligence service, and political envoys from Hamas who were encircling the talks, but not around the table with the Israelis. And we know that Israel came with 2 additional demands that didn't exist in previous rounds of talks, and the hope had been there'd be some sort of bridging proposal. I should mention, that the director of the CIA, William Burns, also there as well. So those talks, it's hard to see them being conclusive now as a result of this, unless Israel decided to soften its demands. And that's one, if you're looking for silver linings or a glass half full analysis of where we are, some analysts in Israel have said that maybe this gives Prime Minister Netanyahu now an off-ramp to be able to say, well, look, we've taken out the leader of Hamas in this quite sort of daring operation, and then securing a ceasefire and a hostage release in the wake of this, if that's possible, would perhaps quieten some of the opposition he would otherwise get from his right wing. I hope that analysis is true, but it's very hard to tell today.
John, I'm really glad we spoke again. I think that with issues like this, and as we said, I mean, you were apologising for it being so complicated when you were explaining it, but as we said, we need to kind of have some continuity in terms of the explanation and an understanding. And as I concluded with the interview last week, on Monday, I said, I imagine we'll be talking about this again in the next few days, few weeks, and I didn't think it would just be 2 days away. But as these tensions ramp up, this is where we are now. John, thank you very much for your time.
And just quickly, I'm looking forward to the day to being invited on where we're talking about a breakthrough diplomatically for
Wouldn't
peace.
That be wonderful?
Yes. So
Wouldn't
may
that
day
be wonderful?
come soon.
Do you know what? That is a date. That the day that happens, because I will remain optimistic. We will talk.
Amen to that. Thank you, Naga.
John Linden from the Alliance for Middle East Peace. Thank you very much. Look, at 1:00, Mark Chapman is going to take over from me, and he is going to have our brilliant Five Live team, brilliant commentators, brilliant athletes who are commentating and competitors who have been there, done it. They know the people who are competing. They know the pain they go through. They know their strategies. They know their determination. They know what it takes, and they will bring all that colour and excitement and character. And I'll be completely honest, I'm quite glad I'm off air at 1:00 because it has been mad this morning. Absolutely bonkers. Bonkers, but brilliant. We've had medal-winning moments for Great Britain. There's been gold for Alex Lee in the men's triathlon, gold in the women's quad sculls in the rowing. This is what it sounded like.
And he passes the New Zealand athlete, and Alex Yee is out in front. He's stretching away, and he's suddenly found a burst of energy out of nowhere, Alex Yee, as he comes onto the blue carpet alley.
Alex Yee, you are an absolute legend. Where did he get this from? He never gave up hope. He's onto the blue carpet. He's meters away from being the Olympic champion.
Oh, I thought he had nothing left, but Alex Yee fist pumps as he comes up towards the finish line. For so many years, British triathlon has been linked with the Brownlee brothers, but now we have another Olympic champion in the men's triathlon. Alex Yee of Great Britain is the Olympic champion in Paris 2024.
The Dutch are going to do it. Unless Britain have something really special in the final 50, it's going to be close. Up to the line they come now. Have Britain got one last push? They're getting closer and closer and closer. With 10 metres to go, with 5 metres to go, I think they've done it. It's a photo for gold. A photo finish between Britain and the Dutch. Right at the end, Britain came. With 50 metres to go, they look beaten. But with a metre or two left, they may have just edged the Dutch to win an extraordinary gold, and I think they've done it.
They did do it, and oh my goodness, they kept us on the edge of our seats. I was up and down like a yo-yo watching those golds, and It was tiring. So let's go back to Alex Lee, because you were hearing Maz Faruqi and Alison Kirbishley commentating there. So it looked as if Hayden Wild from New Zealand had it. There was like a 12-second gap on the run, and it was held up until, the last kilometre or so, when Alex Yee had this burst of energy. Ali Kirbishley did call it. She did say he looked like he was kind of digging deep into something. It was sensational, that finish. And JJ Chalmers has been talking to him.
Alex Yee, Olympic champion. What do you make of that?
I still don't really know what to say, to be honest. I think, I'm a bit lost for words, and I'm just so grateful to everyone who's been in my corner the last 3 years, and that was for them. I 5K was going through a real bad patch, and at 2.5K, I thought, I'm going to give myself one last chance at this and not give up. And here we are. And I'm still a bit lost for words.
Yeah, you're lost for words, but actually so is the nation that was watching that. That was pretty unexpected, but it was a spectacular finish. What were you saying to yourself in that moment?
I was just saying anything can happen. I think for me, I don't know. I'm still just that normal guy who, I don't know. I'm just such a normal guy. I don't know. I work hard in my sport, and I just love what I'm doing. And for me, it's just amazing that I can be in this position, and I just believe that anything can happen. These guys have worked so hard for me. My girlfriend, my family, everyone who's been in my corner. They came out today. They waited for a postponement, which is so easy for people who are financially challenged to go home. And they came and they lined the streets and supported me, and every one of them gave me a push to get to Hayden, and appreciate him as well for just giving me that push and really extracting everything out of my body.
Yeah, normal bloke, always humble, but that was not a normal finish. It was spectacular. Thank you for the moment, and thanks for talking to us.
No, thanks so much, and thanks to everyone at home. Thanks for being patient with us. We got a race in the end.
Certainly did. And what he was referring to, obviously, is the triathlon was delayed by a day because of water concerns in the Seine about the pollution levels or cleanliness levels. So it was delayed to today. So we had the women's triathlon this morning, of course, and then the men's later on in the morning. Then there was the women's quad sculls, and you were hearing Chris Jones and Jess Eddy commentating there. Now, Lola Anderson, Hannah Scott, Lauren Henry and Geordie Brayshaw are Olympic gold champions, right? They did not make it easy for us. I think they had a plan, obviously. As you heard, it came down to a photo finish in the quad sculls. And Lola and Hannah have been talking to Matthew Pinsent.
Lola Anderson, women's quad, Olympic champion. That is a nice feeling, surely.
Yeah. Sorry, this just feels like it's been ages working towards this, and I think as a boat we're always very process driven and we're always looking to what comes next, but when you kind of get to the end of a cycle like this and it doesn't get bigger than this, it's really quite overwhelming to just experience this, but be really grateful.
How long ago did you write on a piece of paper that you wanted this moment to come?
13 years ago. I'd forgotten about it, obviously, but a couple of years ago my dad reminded me, and I know that he'd be so proud. I'm just thinking a lot about him right now, and it's really lovely.
Hannah, is there any way to sum up what this means?
No.
It's been a long time in the making, and I still can't quite believe it. I don't even know if I'm emotional yet. That'll come. But yeah, I think we were so process driven today, and I think the immensity of what this is, it hasn't caught up on me, because I think I've just been trying to play it really cool. And yeah, I mean, Lola,
not cool.
We've all the crew today, Georgie, Lauren, Lola, amazing. We kept it so cool to the point one at the end, and we knew we had it. We had the confidence. We've done so many hard miles and training, and yeah, for anyone out there, just go for it, because honestly, if you think you can, you might just one day, and that's the really cool thing about the Olympics.
Isn't it just? Have a dream, stick to it, train hard, win. There were 2 bronze medals earlier as well. Beth Potter in the women's triathlon, and there was in the diving as well, another bronze for Great Britain's diving team. Lois Toulson and Andrea Spendolini-Syriacs held their nerve in the women's synchronised 10-metre platform final. That went down to the wire as well. So it doesn't finish there. Now I'm going to take you to the fight that you'll see physical fighting in the boxing, and you're going to see all-out kind of battles on the tennis court. So the stage now, the tennis is at the men's singles third round, the women's singles quarterfinals. Delith Lloyd is watching that action unfold. In the boxing, Steve Bunce has been keeping an eye on things. So let's go to Delith first. Delith. Roland Garros. Hate the scene. Is it as hot as it was yesterday?
Roland Garros. It is once again bathed in sunshine on the Philippe Chatrier, the main centre court. Naga and the packed crowd have just watched Novak Djokovic in action, overcoming Rafael Nadal, of course, on Monday, as he did. Well, this was the third round match against German Dominik Koepfer, who was ranked 63rd in the world, yet to drop a set at Paris 2024, and that's the way it remains. Djokovic through 7-5, 6-3. I mean, he was taking the distance in the opening set, looked much more relaxed, the Serb, in the second. And he's through to the quarterfinals, where he'll play Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece, who beat Sebastian Baez of Argentina in straight set a short while ago as well. Remember, Naga, as well, Olympic gold is the one title that Djokovic hasn't got in his absolutely gigantic trophy cabinet.
Can you imagine how big that is?
It is on, exactly. It is on. He's through to the quarterfinals safely.
Okay, well, what else is happening today? What other matches are we going to be watching?
Quite a lot. French Open and Wimbledon champion Carlos Alcaraz in action in the singles this afternoon against Roman Safiullin. This evening he'll be back in doubles action alongside Rafael Nadal. Top seed Iga Świątek of Poland faces Americans Danielle Collins in the quarterfinals a little bit later this afternoon. And also we've got the British pair of Katie Boulter and Heather Watson playing their women's doubles second round match as well, Naga. So still plenty to come from Roland Garros.
Preserve the voice, Delith. You are going to be busy. Thanks very much. Delith Lloyd there, watching the action at Roland Garros. Boxing, I did tell you what's happening. Great Britain's Chantel Reid has lost in the 75k round of 16, 75 kilo round of 16. Defeated by Morocco's Khadija Mahdi. Steve Bunce has been talking to her.
3-2 at the end. Did you think you'd done enough, Chantel?
I mean, I can't really tell until I watch the fight back, to be honest, but I felt like I left it all in the ring, you know. Tried to stick to the plan as much as I could, but unfortunately it didn't work this time around, but move on to the next.
I mean, we all seem to think you could have nicked it. You know, it was a tight. It was like a couple of the fights that have been tight. The first round, you must have been pleased when you got back at the end of the first round.
100%, definitely. It's unfortunate that I couldn't carry it on for the rest of the fight, but yeah, I think I'm not disappointed. You know, we did as much as we could.
It's been a difficult weekend.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah, it's been a tough week for us all, but you know, Lewis Richardson's going to perform tonight. I've got full belief in that he'll get the win for us.
And you pushed arguably the world number one and one of the hottest tips for the gold all the way to the wire. You were a point away from winning it.
Yeah. Well, again, you know, just need to watch it back and see from there.
And finally, what's it been like being an Olympian, even though it's not been great? What's it like, the old Olympic experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I'm just blessed to have qualified, coming back on the team in October. I'm just so blessed that I'm here, get to experience the Olympic Games.
Yeah, I mean, let's not. You go out there to win. You know, everyone is going out there to win. So you are going up against brilliant and determined people. Steve Bunce, talking of brilliant and determined, is at the North Paris Arena. Hello.
How are you doing, Naga?
Oh, I'm really well. Really. I'm loving this, obviously.
I can tell. That's because you've managed to avoid the North Paris Arena, the stop before the train station, and the culinary delight is 2 kilometres away at the IKEA. And in the boxing ring, it's been even worse than that, to be honest with you.
No one has any sympathy for you.
No, I know
you
that,
are
that.
witnessing brilliance.
But listen, I went to the fencing last night and saw the French team in that enormous, ridiculous building right in the centre of Paris, because it's full of ridiculous, lovely, gorgeous buildings, as you know. And that was an absolute top 5 of all-time sporting memory. Today it was heartbreak for Chantel Reid. She was the 4th of our boxers to lose on a split 3-2, which is unprecedented. It's just, you know what? I'm having all sorts of people come over to me because I'm a veteran, as you know, come over and say, "Oh, Buncey, this is corrupt. Oh, Buncey, this." It's not. It just happens. We're just having absolutely zero luck. In the draw, Naga, of the 4 people that have lost 3-2, 3 of them have lost to the world number 1. the hottest pick for the medal. It's unlikely that they won't win a medal. So we'll end up having boxers exiting on Saturday who 2 weeks later, the man or woman that beat them is going to be collecting a gold medal. I've never known anything like it. One of the decisions, the one against Rosie Eccles, that was a standalone bad decision. That could rank with anything from the worst Cold War days of the 70s and 80s. But the other 4 defeats, trust me, they've just been tight. And that's thankfully Chanterie's the only person I've spoken to who wasn't crying.
I'm sure you're going to get into this with Chappers a little later, but it brings into question, I've only got like 45 seconds, so you can't go into it too much, but like funding. And and where this squad goes next.
Well, the thing is, we need. I believe it was 2 medals. It's all a bit unofficial. Hopefully, we've still got Lewis Richardson in. Plus, there's a woman called Cindy Ngamba. She fights for the refugee team. She's been in Bolton for the last 15 years. She hasn't managed to get a British passport. She deserves one. We thought she'd get one, and she's part of our team. The IOC allowed her to train with us, quarter with us. So we have her going this afternoon as well. One of them will get a medal or 2. Don't worry about that, Naga. Have faith in me.
I've always got faith in you. And you know what I love? I love the stories. And I hope to hear more of that story later on as well. Steve, it's always a joy talking to you. Enjoy it. I've got, I'm sure I'm allowed to say it, Jaffa Cakes. I brought the biscuits in for the team this morning. So, yeah, I'm happy. Happy with a cup of tea and Jaffa Cakes. I hope the food improves. But you know what? You've got the sport, so you're winning.
Thank you very much.
Steve Bunce there. Thanks in the North Paris Arena. Wow, what a morning. We've had golds, we've had bronzes. And we're only up to 1 o'clock. As I said, Mark Chapman and the rest of the team will be taking over. From me at 1 now, here's the news with Stuart Clarkson.